Доброго времени суток. Всем привет. С вами Элис Джей. Сейчас я поднастроюсь немножко. Да, я проверила, звук есть, не есть. Итак, направляйтесь в кабинет Нева. Сегодня мы будем продолжать делать Маскарад виновных. Вот. Я, наконец, иду по сюжету. На самом деле, я посмотрела пару клипчиков и еще кое-что. Мне прям захотелось очень сильно. Наконец-то я дождалась этого момента. Я очень заинтриговала посмотреть все это вживую. То есть, как оно было. Я плюс-минус представляю уже, что происходит. Мне не нравится, что разрабы так сильно спойлерят, но все равно интересно очень. Пойдем смотреть дальше.
Is something wrong? Monsieur Durvalette and Lady Farina, they seem to have gotten into a dispute. Please go see for
Серьезно,
yourself.
спор у Нева и Фурины?
Like I said, I've already explained everything.
And yet the problem has not been properly solved. There is little space for excuses between us. It is not my intention to offend you, but please tell me where you stand. You are the Hydro Archon Focalor, are you not?
Прямой вопрос. Ты архонт или нет? А мы-то знаем. А вот не знали, было бы интереснее.
Look at this. This is a list of the victims from the recent Poisson incident.
You mean they're all...
We did not arrive in time to avert this disaster, and I will not have it happen again. I will say this once more. You must tell me everything you know.
Напал на бедную девочку.
Yesterday, I found 3 stone slates in some ancient ruins near Poisson. Do you know anything
Точно, мы
about
же плиты
those?
обнаружили. Я уже забыла, так давно проходила.
Seriously? You're questioning me like this is a court case now. I don't know anything about that. But you found them in some ancient ruins, you say?
That's correct, which is why I came to ask you some questions. There should have been 4 slates, but one of them was missing. The other 3 feature different images that seem to correlate to the prophecy.
The prophecy?
The second of these slates depicts the previous Hydro Archon Egeria kneeling before a floating island in the sky, as if confessing something. Do you know nothing of this either?
I don't. I've never seen such slates.
I'll ask you again. Do you really have no information regarding the previous Archon? My deciphering of the slates indicates that the Hydro Archon Egeria once had to confess to, or apologize for, a certain sin. If anyone would know about it, it should be you.
All gods don't have the same secrets, you know. She was herself and I'm me. Is it really so strange that I know nothing? I understand your concerns, but I'm sorry. I just don't have anything to tell you.
Forgive me for saying this now, Lady Farina, but I have long known of your various secret investigations into certain matters. There are several indications that you have been investigating the prophecy on the sly. This is not strange in itself, considering that you are the Hydro Archon. But it is strange that you should also claim to not know any of Egeria's secrets, as well as do nothing following your inquiries. You have never been as superficial as you have presented yourself to be, nor are you a fool. And yet, your behavior is very inconsistent.
So you've been watching me all this time, have you? I didn't think you were
Он
that
за ней
type.
следил. А, мамкин сталкер. Окей.
You...
Well, since you know about my secret investigations, then you should know I'm actually working to take care of it. There's no point questioning or suspecting me. You're the Eudix, but you're still my subordinate. You should be following my lead. Just trust in me, your Archon, and do as I say. Never mind whether you can truly convince yourself to or not. It'll all turn out fine. That's all I have to say. We do not discuss this matter again. Oh, the opera's about to start. Toodles!
Так, представление в оперном театре. Увидимся. Угу. Сейчас, секундочку, я подумала, а вдруг... Поехали дальше. И все нормально.
Did Farina not notice us standing by the door? Wonder what's up with her. She was smiling. She didn't seem in the mood to care if we were listening in or not.
Она всерьез чем-то обеспокоена. Еще бы не обеспокоена была, столько людей исчезло, растворилось.
I assume you've been outside for a while now?
Плеснев ее подозревает, следит за ней и все такое.
Oh, you noticed. Seems Farina didn't even realize we were here.
She was in a great panic, though I cannot discern the reason. Our discussion reached impasses time and again, a state of affairs that we cannot allow to continue. Still, I do not understand. Dialogue is the basis for understanding, so why did she keep refusing to engage?
Боюсь, одними вопросами тут ничего не добьешься. Она должна осознать всю серьезность ситуации.
Everyone in her inner circle has noticed that she is hiding some secret. The issue is her attitude. I fear that she will not reveal anything unless absolutely forced to. We may have to create a situation in which she will have no choice but to speak.
Oh?
Normally, people will only reveal the truth when standing trial. Perhaps we must have the Hydro Archon experience
Он
just
предлагает ее
such a
судить.
scenario.
Серьезно.
But Farina's seen so many trials, and she's really good at dodging questions. How do we make sure that she won't just slip away at the first chance she gets?
We will need to consider this thoroughly, join forces with various parties, and then do what we can. If at all possible, I would prefer to recuse myself from this affair, but we must prevent the prophecy from coming to pass. This may be cruel to her, but all Fontaine is in crisis. The information a god possesses is too precious, and so we must take a chance on this.
В таком случае нам понадобится помощь. Он говорит, жестоко, но мы будем ее судить.
But who will lend us their aid to do such a thing?
Я знаю, к кому можно обратиться. Несколько дней спустя. А потом спустя месяц, да?
Speaking of which, it was pretty smart of you to think of hiding here.
Poisson was just involved in a disaster, so it's presently devoid of people. That naturally makes it the best choice.
And here you are drinking tea like it's the most natural thing in the world, huh?
That's what family should do. Sit.
It's nice to enjoy tea here, you know? Care for a cup?
Lend me your ears, everyone. Or perhaps one of you might like to start us off. How about you, friend?
Me? No, I don't think I can.
Then, how about you, good sir?
I fear that I will cause the mood on this boat to become as somber as it is in court.
Well then, I guess we're lucky we've got a local like me to organize things. Wonderful, the spotlight at last. I guess I'll be facilitating things from here.
That was a little long-winded, don't you think?
Oh, you might be right. Anyway, to cut to the chase, our friend here, the Traveler, has brought us together to discuss something. As for what that is, well, let's start by saying that we'll be pooling our efforts together to create a series of traps.
Oh, how intriguing.
Well, it's just an expression, really. One that I just learned from Chlorand, and used on the spot. So, let's invite her to explain in detail. A round of applause, please.
Huh? Didn't you say that you would be facilitating this?
Oh, come now. Your work doesn't involve much public speaking, right? This is a good chance to practice. You might even pick up some fancy oratory tricks to impress your boss with in the future.
I see. And what does my boss say?
He is glad that you consider him your boss. Do go on.
3 часа выясняли, кто будет говорить. Ой,
In that
я...
case,
я с этого
do
немножко
any of you
ломаюсь.
have experience hunting?
Так, кто-нибудь из присутствующих выходил на охоту когда-нибудь?
Not that I recall.
Нет.
Fremine and I once used a wooden stick in a basket to catch wild rabbits when we were younger.
А мы ловили
As for
кроликов.
Lynette, oh, right. You were sick that day, weren't you?
I've also gone diving
Я
to
ловил
catch
рыбу.
some fish before.
Это не
I'm
то.
afraid not. You may or may not have heard, but Fontaine once played host to a group known as the Marechaussee Hunters. Though that was their name, they did not hunt animals, but rather various monsters left behind by the ancient dynasty of King Remus. Today, Fontaine's monster population has already thinned greatly, so the hunters have blended back into society. Taking a trap comprises of the following components: bait, a trigger, and a containment device. Sometimes a lethal implement will also be necessary to deal with the prey. So, if we were to build a trap together, right now, what would you choose to build it with?
For me, I would prefer something basket-shaped. Pigeons and rabbits will see the bait and naturally enter the snare. Our line of work requires a deft hand,
Ну,
and we're some of
при
the
охоте на
best in the
фурине я бы
industry,
поставила
so
вкусный
you can
тортик.
count on our techniques.
You used some of those techniques while moving the people of Poisson, didn't you? My subordinates mentioned that you even performed some magic for the bawling children.
Yes, and I even managed to gather some intelligence in the meantime. I'm quite the multitasker if I do say so myself.
I'm afraid I can't claim that as my strong suit. I prefer more stable methods, like placing bait in the water and waiting for the fish to come within reach.
Calm and steady. Exactly the kind of person who would catch loads of fish.
And I can be their assistant.
With discretion, I'm sure.
I'd probably use some sort of mechanical animal. Papa once bought me some small clockwork squirrels, mice, and such. When placed in the forest, they can attract others of their kind. I remember that you liked those too, didn't you?
I did. And that would be a good way to go about it. If they're realistic enough, animals of the same kind will follow them all the way to the trap.
What about you, Monsieur Neuvillette?
I fear I do not have any related experience.
That makes sense. You usually solve problems directly, without the use of any such tricks.
По сути, мой вариант про тортик тот же, как у Фремене. Вкусненьким приманиваем, а дальше ловим как-нибудь. Как-то так, наверное.
But I do have one more question for you, monsieur.
Я, видимо, тоже рыбак,
If
но
we
это
were to
да, это
create a
правда.
trap now, how would you design it?
Большая ловушка, как она должна выглядеть? Да как угодно.
I would like for it to be effective, but bring no harm to the prey. A more gentle trap would be ideal.
Kind as always. However, our intention doesn't necessarily change the containment device and the type of implement we need. If we wanted to kill the prey in one strike, we would need a powerful implement. However, that also goes for prey that must be captured and safely contained.
Wait, why's that?
Only a hunter who's a true expert at subduing their prey can snare it without harming it. The line that divides life and death is often exceedingly...
So are we going hunting together?
Huh. We hadn't thought of seeing ourselves as hunters. It kinda works, but maybe it's still not the best metaphor.
If our means of capturing and dealing with our prey is to put them on trial, then the hunting metaphor is actually quite accurate. But we shall require much more courage than any hunter to judge a god, a being whose seat is an exalted throne.
Угу. Чтобы осудить Бога, нам нужно быть в 100 раз храбрее любого охотника. Вот.
Oh, so that's what's going on. Sounds very interesting.
Вы не считайте свои действия охотой. У вас совсем другая цель, и ваши отношения с Фуриной пока не настолько испортились. Пока. Ключевое слово «пока». Вам нужно всего лишь выведать ее секреты. Попытка выведать секреты Бога — настоящее кощунство, но вы решаетесь пойти на риск, чтобы Фонтейн не погрузился под воду, как предсказано в пророчестве. Мгм. Не будет ни охотника, ни дичи, зато будет ловушка. Вам нужно поставить ловушку. Охотники-пророки, отправляйтесь на базу Спина. Мгм. Сейчас мы 3 часа будем еще этим заниматься. Но безумно интересно, они прям интригуют. Мне очень любопытно, что будет дальше уже. Как все это будет выглядеть. Если что, действительно старалась смотреть по минимуму, но кое-что я видела. Ну, то есть, все разрабы во всем виновата, во всех спойлерах своих. Специально ничего не смотрела. Ugh.
It's been a tough few days, hasn't it? So much has been happening.
После такого совещания страшно хочется есть.
Paimon didn't think the meetings would go on for so long, but everyone seemed pretty fired up, huh? Paimon thought they'd be at least a little frightened. Well, Fremine was, now that Paimon thinks about it, but everyone else just looked a little surprised.
Теперь ты чувствуешь себя увереннее?
Well, it's hard to say. Paimon doesn't have any experience with this sort of thing. But with you around, Paimon sure will do great. After all, you're the most reliable person in the world, aren't you? Huh?
Что такое?
Did you just pour some tea? Paimon didn't notice you doing that at all.
Нет, я ничего не делал. Кто-то налил чай, мы не заметили?
Then what's that? Paimon's never seen that cup before.
Don't be frightened. I'm just joining you two for tea.
Who's that voice? But there's no one here.
Aw, have you forgotten me already?
Wait, you are familiar. You're the voice we heard from the sky in Sumeru.
The voice from the sky, I fear that description is wrong. Though, not
Это
completely
не
wrong.
Алиса ли?
You're feeling lost now, just as you were feeling previously. I sensed that confusion and thus came to you. Guiding people is an irresistible hobby of mine, after all.
Или у нее был другой голос? Я просто не помню. Я на самом деле не помню. Я подозреваю, что это кто-то из ведьм, наверное, но это не факт. Просто чай меня на эту мысль натолкнул. А так я вообще не знаю, что это такое. Кто ты? Что тебе от нас надо?
Consider me a passerby, just accepting a commission from my friend's disciple on a whim.
Ученица моей подруги. Мне кажется, что это Алиса, и сейчас она намекнула на Мону. Она дружит с наставницей Моны. Загадочная Н из ведьминого шабаша. Н. Н это не Алиса, да, это кто-то другая. Я правильно подумала. Позволь задать тебе один вопрос. Исполнится ли пророчество о Фонтейне?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesized will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
What? Then is there any way we can stop it?
Пророчество исполнится. Считай, что это будущее. Ага. Ну, блин, это какой-то жирный намек, знаете.
I believe you have witnessed a failed attempt with your own eyes. Can everything in Tevat so easily be changed?
Думаешь, судьбу Тейвата так легко изменить? Неужели не бывает исключений? Опять это судьба.
So you've caught on. Just as
Ведьма Н.
prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods, could things be happening in hidden corners where the gods' gaze does not fall? Are the things that you shall see different from the fate that the gods perceive?
What is she talking about? It all sounds really impressive.
Знаете, что она
and important and
сказала?
stuff, but
А и о чем я
it
подумала?
also sounds kind of scary.
Я подумала, что она говорит, боги все это предсказали, они все это видели. Но есть ли что-то, чего не видят боги? А мне кажется, что как раз ГГ боги не видят. Ну, в том смысле, что, помните, Нахида там смотрела что-то в дереве, и, по-моему, наш главный герой был исключением из того, что она видит. То есть мы, так как не являемся созданием этого мира, мы являемся исключением из того, что местные знают, видят и так далее. Поэтому мы можем влиять на судьбу этого мира напрямую. Наверное, так. подразумевается. Ну тогда мы какая-то имба грёбаная, хотя мы и так это знаем. Чая почти не осталось, надо пила
I
чай.
believe that you understand, right? Some things are
Наверное, это
insignificant,
не чай в
but
прямом
others
смысле.
you must reach out to change.
Некоторые вещи не имеют значения, но некоторые тебе придется изменить. Я подумала, что это, наверное, прибор связи. Когда чай закончится, то и связь закончится.
Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Tevat's future.
Делай,
All
что
you
должно.
need to do is to play your part. This was good tea, by the way. Thank you for your hospitality.
Да,
Well,
она
that'll be
свалила.
all for today.
Окей.
The voice. It's gone.
А ведьма Н, это и есть твоя подсказка? Неожиданные новости вызывают у вас противоречивые чувства. Снаружи кто-то есть.
I hear someone talking. All right, coming. Hey, it's you who's getting lit.
Well, I see I've
Мона
walked in on
пришла.
some lively banter.
Как ты провела эти дни?
Fine, just fine. I went to take part in that Steambird panel. It turned out to be more interesting
Даже
than
Мону
I
вплели.
expected. Not all Fontanians are pessimistic about this. One journalist mentioned that sitting around and waiting for the end to come would be wrong, and that they should make their own rescue preparations. I agreed, so we had a brief chat with her.
Did she have pink hair by any chance?
Why, yes, it was Charlotte. You remember her, right? That daredevil journalist? I'm in full support of her view. Prophecies are very important, but how can people allow their lives to be commandeered by just a few words?
That's right! Paimon's glad to hear something sensible for once.
Ah, yes. About what we had discussed before. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't reach the old hag. I'll try again tonight, but I wouldn't get your hopes up.
Угу. Вообще-то к нам уже приходили. Мы Мону заставляли что-то посмотреть. Получается, это она поработала. А я забыла этот момент. Ладно, это проблема того, что я играю с перерывами, с большими. А сейчас мне еще 6 утра.
Huh?
Я только глаза продрала, по сути.
Goodness gracious. Are you serious?
Вы серьезно? Да, думаю, она пришла к нам что-то передать. Мгм.
She said that even the god's gaze has blind spots. Pretty bold if you ask Paimon. Most people would believe the gods to be all-knowing, right?
The Hexen Circle members are certainly anything but ordinary. As for the mage named N, the old hag has mentioned her a few times. She said that N's sense of direction is incredible, and that she loves guiding those who are lost. But I've never met her, and if she were still alive, she'd be... well, suffice it to say that the hag's at least a few hundred now, and N's been around for longer than that.
Whoa. The Hexen Circle sounds like a scary group.
А что
They
страшного в
must
этом,
really
Паймон?
stay in shape to live so long.
Наверное, ведьмы поддерживают себя в отличной форме, раз столько живут. Я не знаю насчет ведьм, но мы сами знакомы даже с той же козой, которой 3000 лет. Чего мы так удивляемся?
Their abilities alone are pretty terrifying. If she came to see you personally, then the problem you're facing must truly be of great importance.
Well, it's not like Paimon could understand anything she said.
Yes, she was quite cryptic, but I suspect she means that there is still a way to turn things around. She didn't say when or what that would be, though, so perhaps it is something that you cannot know right now.
Да, она хотела дать нам подсказку, но когда мы сможем понять истинный смысл и ценность ее подсказки? Или ее слова были лучшими из возможных ответов на мой вопрос?
Traveler, Paimon, are you two all right?
Oh, we're fine. We're just a little down right now. It kind of feels like the end is coming, you know?
I see. I feel that same sense of desperation, too. I guess you could consider me someone who has often witnessed fate. So far as I have seen, it cannot be swayed. But even so, I still hope for and believe in miracles. Astrology is eternal and rational, but fate may not be.
It is cruel, but it can also be beautiful. Perhaps that's what N was trying to tell you. Not to lose heart, and to believe that what you are seeing playing out before you is not yet set in stone. I did originally think of steering clear of all this, but I couldn't. Even if this is all futile, I still wish to help everyone. If we don't struggle to the last, then how can we face the end when it comes?
Huh. You do have a point.
There I go, talking about astrological principles again. Sorry about that. The moment I start talking about work-related stuff. I need to get going.
Ничего, Мона, спасибо тебе.
It was worth trying to comfort you, even if only a little. I believe that you'll help those who are struggling in the same way I did. I suppose that might be why we always seem to meet by coincidence.
Paimon feels kind of moved by what Mona said, but also kind of sad too.
Мне кажется, от того, что мы с Моной бы сейчас не поговорили бы, ничего бы не поменялось. Ладно.
Hey, traveler. Paimon suddenly feels like going outside for a walk. Let's walk around the city, shall we? There's a few spots we always like to walk by.
Отправляйтесь к газетному киоску. Угу.
Huh? Our names are written in this newspaper.
Наши имена в газете?
What's going on?
Может, мы стали знаменитыми?
Let Paimon see.
Я вижу кое-что.
The underwater stronghold, the Fortress of Meripede, has continued in its noble autonomy, but that my recent attempts to enter the fortress bore little fruit. Huh. Guess Charlotte still hasn't given up on that. Thus, did an Outlander friend become the focus of this report? A blonde adventurer with their white fairy legends trailing in their wake. It is said that this mysterious traveler once visited the underwater fortress. So while the fortress's interior remains a mystery behind closed doors, do not fear, for the tales of the traveler contain surprises in spades. Journalist Charlotte's biggest scoop yet, the Traveler's Trail, World Walker. Huh. Charlotte took so many awesome photos of us and we never even noticed her. She hasn't been able to get a hold of anything at the fortress, so since we're easier to find, she's using us as the subject matter instead?
Угу, похоже на то. Она написала про нас. Нужна ли нам такая известность?
Seriously? Well, fine. Those headlines and photos do look cool, so Paimon will forgive her this time.
Так, вот, смотри, что я не взяла. Подобрать.
Paimon's hungry. Should we go in and get something to eat? Hey, quick! Look! That's the limited edition, only 16 slices a day.
Тот самый торт, который так трудно достать. Ага. В день на продажу поступает всего 16 порций.
It was so delicious the last time we tried it. Despite the tense situation we were in, let's give it another go. I'm sure it'll be great.
Нельзя, чтобы нас опередили. А это будет...
One slice of cake, please.
А!
Someone showed up after all.
Меньше надо было клювом щелкать.
Oh, wait, you're the one from the Palais Mermonia.
Oh, are you here to buy cake too? It seems Monsieur Nervalette was right. You were...
Wait, did he really say something like that?
Ну, блин, а кто может сказать другое, Паймон? Сожрала все, что могла.
That's right. Even he has his own preferences when it comes to food.
Я мирюсь с этим до тех пор, пока она не начала мир жрать вокруг.
Do you come here often?
Usually every day.
Every day?
It's part of my daily schedule, apart from work. I shall have my cake and coffee.
Then what if someone told you one day that this place would be closing soon, and you wouldn't get to eat cake here anymore?
But why would it close?
Well, Paimon doesn't know either, but maybe the waters will rise tomorrow.
Oh, the prophecy. To be honest, I haven't paid much attention to that. No, still, even if there'd be no more cake tomorrow, that wouldn't keep me from having some today.
Угу. Ее подход мне нравится.
No, it's the same for eating in general. You might not be able to eat tomorrow, but if you can do so today, then you should carry on. That's what people call living, you know.
Huh.
Don't be sad. Excuse me, could I have 2 more slices of cake to go?
Мы заставили ее купить еще 2 кусочка с своими пессимистическими разговорами.
These 2 slices are for you.
А, это
Sichuan
нам.
said that this kind of expression you're making is what humans call being
Спасибо. А я уже думала, она себе такая думает, блин, да вдруг реально завтра закроется.
Oh, you know Sichuan?
I sure do. She was born before me, and she sometimes comes to the surface to teach us things about humans. She said that humans are creatures that are saddened easily, yes, and you can only lift their spirits by feeding them delicious
Вкусная
food.
еда может их
So please
развеселить.
try the cakes here. I've got something else to do, so I'll be going now. You two try to stay in a good mood after eating, all right? Bye.
Я вчера попугайчиков веселила, то есть я их уносила к соседям от пиздеца, который творился у меня, и я их принесла, боже мой, как они тряслись, им было очень плохо, а потом я им принесла салатик, и они начали его жрать. Они жрали и жрали с таким чавканьем и хрустом, и им явно получило. Так что это не только с людьми работает.
And there she goes. All right, let's dig in. Paimon's sure this cake will be delicious. It's more delicious than last time, and the flavor gets even better with a sip of tea. It sure would be nice if we could come again tomorrow. Sure would be nice if we could always eat delicious food here.
Покиньте отель. Угу. Вот мы и поели, как всегда. Теперь можно в другом месте поесть, да, Паймон?
Oh, we're near the steamboat office. Let's go look for Charlotte and have a chat.
Wow! If it isn't the Traveler and Paimon! Oh, have you seen the article I wrote about you?
Ha! You've got some nerve. You just used us to make some quick mora.
Может, поделим выручку?
Oh, you needn't worry about that. I heard that you were in Poisson some time back, so I sent you a letter to discuss just that.
Письмо не дошло, но я все
Appears
сделала
you didn't
сама, да?
receive it, though.
Ну-ну.
It's all right, though. I've set aside the amount intended for you. I've even set the table with some food.
А, накрыл для нас стол. Ну все, Паймон, ты довольна?
Really? Well, you're the best.
Да, конечно.
You're almost a little too easy to win over, Paimon. If I were a journalist with ulterior motives, you'd be in trouble now, you know.
Oh, Paimon knows you're not like that.
Still, what brings you here all of a sudden? Were you looking for me?
When Mona mentioned you, we thought of coming to see you at work.
I see. It seems you've already bumped into Mona here in Fontaine. So she mentioned me? What did she say?
She said that you're a real daredevil of a journalist.
Nice. In which case, can this daredevil journalist dare to request an exclusive interview with the legendary Traveler?
Huh? So
Interview?
your article in the paper today doesn't count?
Oh, of course it doesn't. That was more like live photography. What I'd like to do is dive deeper and ask you to talk about the things you've seen and experienced.
Ты правда хочешь взять у меня интервью?
Yeah, are we even qualified enough?
А кто еще подходит для интервью, если не мы? Мы тут самый крутой. Конечно, Паймон.
Why not? If I say
Такой
you're
дело,
worth
что
an
нафиг мне
interview,
это
then
надо.
you're worth it. But not right now, of course. I'll need a few days to prepare.
Oh, in that case, we'll just chat when you have the time then?
Oh, so that's a yes? Ooh, splendid! I'll
tell the editor-in-chief immediately. I'll have to apply for lighting, a venue, some props, and... Whew, so much to get done now. Talk to you later.
Wait, Charlotte. Paimon's still got a question for you.
Звучит очень напряжно.
And what's that?
If, just for example, Fontaine were to be flooded tomorrow, what?
Huh. That's the prophecy you're talking about, isn't it? I mean, I do hear about it often, but I've never once thought that the day could be tomorrow.
Я ни разу не думала, что делать, если пророчество исполнится завтра. Блин, я бы сказала переехать. Вот взять и переехать. Вот ты точно знаешь, что завтра все к херам затопит. Но, блин, нормальная тема. Ну вот серьезно, по-нормальному берешь вещи и переезжаешь туда, где не затопит. Разве это, ну, не супер логично? Ой.
If you're seriously asking, then I might try and think of a way to leave Fontaine.
О, да.
But I'm still a journalist first and
Девочка
foremost.
логичная,
That
нормально.
means I have a duty to be reporting from the scene. And secondly, I wouldn't forsake my homeland that
Ну,
easily.
перевез вещи, вернулся и, типа, снимаешь с горы, как топит, наверное, как-то так.
From what I've seen, most people don't know what they'd do should the worst come to pass. In truth, it might be better just to behave like normal rather than worry over such an end. So in all likelihood, I'd probably still be prepping at the office for that interview of ours. I know what you're thinking. That sounds a bit sad, but I've always believed that it's best to do what you enjoy. Just think about it. If this nation really were to be suddenly destroyed tomorrow, but I still successfully finish an exclusive interview with a truly unique
Уникальный
person,
материал, когда не будет Фонтейна.
wind up writing would truly
Ты
be
где его
timeless.
печатать собралась, девочка? Шарлотт, ну что это? Ладно, ни одна работа в голове.
And then do you know what I'd do? Well, I'd write that story, send it for printing, and use messenger pigeons to
Я
get
бы
copies
сдала
out to the
материал
various
в
nations as
печать,
soon as
которой не
possible.
будет, да? Разослала бы копии в другие страны голубиной почтой, которой тоже не будет, да?
I'm not a dreamer, nor am I a workaholic, but I do love my job,
Ладно,
and I'd be proud of leaving such an article
ладно, я
behind.
одобряю ее.
I guess you could say that I was born to be
Мне
a
просто все это
journalist.
дико интересно.
But anyway, that's my answer. And on that note, I'll get back to my preparations.
That's so nice. All of a sudden, Paimon actually kinda envies her. Anyway, let's go and take a look at the sea, shall we?
Ну, пошли смотреть на море. Ну, вот нам воистину делать нефиг.
The sea breeze and scenery can be a pretty soothing combo, huh? Paimon's been thinking,
Что?
if it wasn't Fontaine, but all of Tevat that would be destroyed tomorrow, where would we go and what would we do?
Что мы будем делать? Куда пойдем? Пойдем в следующую страну, следующего архонта донимать, наверное. Нет?
No, Paimon should ask, if you could choose, what would you like to do?
Будь у тебя выбор, что бы ты делал? В смысле, выбор, что-то я прозевала. Если это можно остановить, то останавливаем. Если нет, ну идем дальше. Я не знаю, что еще сказать на это. Будь у меня выбор. Шарлотта была права, такие размышления вряд ли несут в себе много смысла.
We've always been moving to the next destination, so
Мы
we
всегда
haven't
двигались
spent
вперед,
much
не тратя
time
времени на
thinking about these
размышления.
kinds
Вот
of
в том-то и
things.
дело, что думать обычно
We
некогда.
didn't have to either, with us always being on the road and whatnot.
Мы шли дальше, и все. Вот как бы в этом жизни заключается, что ты, несмотря ни на что, идешь дальше. Я буду продолжать путешествие именно. Наша цель даже не в Фонтейне. Настоящая цель.
You mean still traveling?
Моя цель немножко в Снежной, я признаю. А дальше мы ищем сестру и в целом смотрим, что с этим миром не так. Да, и ценить каждую секунду, что нахожусь в этом мире. Это очень сложно, но да.
Huh. Wait, isn't that what we've always been doing?
Сейчас мы именно это и делаем. Наступает ночь, вы возвращаетесь в свое жилище, чтобы встретить новый день утром. Следующие несколько дней проходят спокойно. Шарлотта берет у вас интервью на базе. Закончив с делами в Пуассоне, Нави возвращается на базу. Вы делаете общий снимок, все идет хорошо.
like you'll grow mold if you stay here long enough. But it's still better than the Fortress of Mirapede, that's for sure. It's not only damp there, but salty too.
Ah, so the two of you are still here. Wonderful.
Oh, you're from the Palais Mermonia, aren't you?
Yes, I'm Isadora. Monsieur Nervillet sent me to look for you two before. I heard that afterward you went to the Fortress of Meropide.
И что? Ты решила, что мы преступники, которых ищет весь Фонтейн?
Not at all. I'm well aware that you're friends of his. Actually, I'm here to pass along a message from him.
Нёв просила передать сообщение. Что случилось?
Yes, inside the opera house.
Инцидент?
The Maréchaussée Phantom has declared the incident a
Небольшой
small-scale
бунт.
riot.
A riot?
Well, that said, I don't personally think it was that serious. Lady Farina was watching a performance at the opera house, and while she was resting during an intermission, some other audience members suddenly started
Некоторые зрители
harassing
стали
her,
осуждать ее, осыпая упреками.
loudly accusing her of doing nothing about the prophecy crisis.
Кричали, что она ничего не делает, хотя все в опасности.
And before she could respond, others started to join in. The crowd continued to grow, and protests against the Hydro Archon started to break out.
So people have started to put the blame on Farina. Guess they finally found an outlet for the pressure they've been under due to the prophecy.
I agree. People will naturally rely on gods, as is customary. But the moment people feel threatened, gods are also the first to be blamed.
So what happened after that? Is Farina okay?
Seeing that the situation was spiraling out of control and that further argument was pointless, she claimed that she'd gotten
Сказала, что
tired
ей
of
скучило
this
представление,
and
просто
left in a
ушла
hurry.
быстро. Мгм.
The Maréchaussée Phantom had their hands full maintaining order and did not catch where Lady Farina had gone. Only when things had stabilized did we realize that she had gone missing.
So, you mean she's still missing?
That's right. The Maréchaussée has dispatched many people to search for her, but we don't have any leads yet. That said, I don't think there's much to worry about. She is a god after all. Even if she were to fall into the hands of rioters, what could ordinary people do to her?
Я понял.
Good. Monsieur Nervillet sent me to tell you about the situation, but he didn't say anything else.
Don't worry, this is more than enough to go on. Thanks for keeping us informed.
Ah, is that so? Well, all right then. In that case, you two take care. I'll be heading back to the Palais now.
Well, sounds like we should hurry over to Poisson then.
Сразу сообразила.
If we know Farina, she won't try to fix things in this situation. Instead, she'll look for a place to wait out the heat. And, as we also know, she may be loud and dramatic, but she doesn't have a heart of stone. When Nervillet was talking to her in the Palais Mermonia, and she heard about Poisson, she couldn't hide her sadness and remorse. It would be hard for her to ignore being accused by the public today. Paimon thinks Farina's probably taken the opportunity to slip away to Poisson and try to relieve the sense of guilt that she's feeling. Huh. Well, what do you think? Paimon knows the answer, of course, but Paimon can do the analysis to back it up too. Cool, huh?
Работа детективом явно пошла тебе на пользу.
In
Мгм.
that case, there's not a moment to lose.
Скорее в Пуассон. Ну, пойдем посмотрим, что там происходит. Интересно. Найдите Фарину. Ой, я зря наверх. Сейчас перетопышимся. Перетопышимся. Ну, где-то внизу-то.
This place looks deserted. Guess all the survivors must have evacuated already. All that's left here are signs of
А здесь
devastation.
остались только следы катастрофы, и мы видим мужика.
Farina really be here? Let's try to find her as soon as possible.
Ну-ну. Винченцо, ты чего? Отбитый совсем? Уходи отсюда. А ты? Я из спины Дирасула, как видишь. Пуассон пострадал от наводнений, там сейчас полнейший хаос. Ага. Короче, он просто чекает место. Чекает и предупреждает. Ладно. Тогда ладно. Да, Фурина, действительно.
That's Farina, right over there. She really is here all on her own.
Не шуми. Но в белом варианте.
Should I just give up? This is all meaningless. What was meant to happen did happen after all. Everyone's dead. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Give up, Farina. There's no point in holding out. I'm sorry. But what can I even do other than to repeat meaningless apologies over and over? Who's that?
Don't worry, Farina, it's just us.
So it is you, blonde traveler from another land. Why, I almost thought you were someone from that mob of my ignorant subjects. Come to kneel and beg for my forgiveness.
На себя роль неудачную выбрала. Могла бы нормального человека играть.
Farina, you were crying just now, weren't you? The tear stains on your face are obvious.
What do you mean, tear stains? Oh, I remember. The show at the Opera House earlier this morning was so moving. I'm still trying to process it. Who did that uncivilized rabble think they were, disturbing my enjoyment of the arts? They even dare to tout their Archon. I must teach them a lesson. I can just imagine their twisted and frustrated faces once they realize that I'm nowhere to be found. Oh, and I'm sure Nouvellette and those people from the Maréchaussée Phantom are freaking out right next to them too.
Марина, хватит ломать комедию. Да, это так ужасно звучит.
Of course not.
Hey, there she is. The Hydro Archon's over there.
Они сюда приперлись, серьезно?
Quick, after her.
Что вы к ней пристали?
Farina, those people seem to be after you.
They are? They're just some rabid fans who want to cut the line.
Сейчас мы защищать
Because they
будем,
haven't been able
возможно.
to meet me in person, aren't? That's against the rules. I can't let them get their way.
Она смоталась? Что?
Farina just ran off.
Мгм.
Quick, we have to catch up with her.
Блин, цирк. Одним словом.
This should be the place, right? Hey, Farina! There's a good hiding spot over here. Quick, come to Paimon.
What? What is this place?
Hurry, they're almost...
Fine. I suppose haste is warranted.
Мгм.
Paimon's exhausted.
I'm so tired. I totally thought they had caught me. No, I mean, I merely gave in to the sheer enthusiasm they displayed.
Мгм. Здесь плохая звукоизоляция, вообще-то, да.
You're right.
Yep, that's a good girl.
А это что такое?
What's happening? The ground's shaking. Is it an earthquake?
Видимо, случилась новая катастрофа.
Yeah, a quake of this kind preceded the flooding in Poisson, didn't it?
А ее-то саму не растворить случайно?
It can't be. It's happening again.
Well, there's no need to worry too much about that. Neverlette's made some emergency plans, so the evacuation should go a lot smoother.
Yeah, I hope you're right. But the people of Poisson, they've already...
Она больше не может ломать комедию? Теперь, говоря о своих истинных чувствах, она выглядит намного естественней.
It's true. I've been investigating the prophecy for hundreds of years. I once had informants all over Tevat, searching for clues and I've tried all kinds of ways too to hold back the sea. Anything to keep the coastline from advancing, but all my efforts proved to be futile in the end. We cannot make an enemy of the divine. No matter what we do, the will of the heavenly principles will have its way, and the prophecy shall be fulfilled.
Все равно для тебя это не повод сдаться, верно?
Give up. I do love the sound of that phrase. It would mean finally
Она
coming
уже
to
устала
terms with
слишком.
fate, but also for me to finally be free.
Но еще, что больше не осталось никакой надежды.
Indeed, I've thought about giving up so many times, especially after we almost lost Poisson. Fate is really unreasonable, isn't it? It has no heart and obeys no rules. But just now, it all became clear to me. I still don't have the right to come to terms with fate on behalf of everyone else. As long as the final moment hasn't come, it's still not too late. Don't worry. I will keep hope alive for everyone until the very end. Well, that's enough for now. I got the impulse to play the stricken maiden, but honestly, considering my rank and station, that wasn't a good fit at all.
Как же это раздражающе, блин. Так прикольно, когда он нормальный человек, и не изображает, когда он становится нормальным человеком.
Don't take any of what I just said seriously. How could I possibly let Fontaine fall to the whims of trivial prophecy?
Come on! Paimon could have sworn you were actually being honest just now.
У нас мало времени, мы не успеем, если опять начнем все сначала. Мне нужно больше информации. Фрина, ты не должна нести это бремя в одиночку. Я не знаю, что ты скрываешь, но твой народ будет только рад разделить с тобой твою ношу.
Share my burden. That's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty alone.
Даже если ты не хочешь снять с себя часть ноши, ты все равно можешь кому-то довериться. Нам, например. Расскажи обо всем мне, я буду свидетелем.
A witness. Yes, I've heard that you came to Tevat from beyond the stars, yes?
Да, я
In
из
other
другого
words,
мира.
you never belonged here.
Угу. Вот это как бы тонкий намек. Ты можешь мне все рассказать.
And if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage, then you're just a spectator. If that's the case...
Времени совсем не осталось, давай. Ну, неужели? Я ждала этого 1000 лет. Ротик, открывайся. Ну, блин. А, это ловушка. Мы в зале суда. Вот это подстава из подстав, да? Как они это организовали? Они коробку перенесли, да? Они рельсы сделали оттуда до сюда? Да не может быть. Они бы не сделали так быстро рельсы.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my opening performance.
Или дракон превратился в дракона и перелетел с этой коробкой? Отсюда землетрясение, да?
Now, without further ado, we may proceed to the trial of our god.
Кажется, они бы чувствовали, что их несут. Вот это сам момент странный, но прикольно, прикольно.
this is what it is. Yes, you deserve praise for the effort you took to raise the dramatic stakes. Do not forget, however, that I am Fosalor, the god of justice, the embodiment of justice itself. Does it not strike you as even the least bit absurd to bring the very concept of justice to trial?
Ура, мы судим справедливость.
May I interpret these words as your refusal to stand trial? In that case, you will have the opportunity to defend your honor through a duel.
You would draw your blade against a god? I see. It seems like you have made up your mind.
Paimon can't believe it. She just surrendered.
What the heck is going on? Did I just see an Archon surrender to a human?
Гидрархон сдалась простой смертной?
Wow, how utterly humiliating.
Унизительно.
Lady Farina, what is the meaning of this?
Как так? Они великую драку хотели увидеть. Я подумала, бедная Кларинда. Ну, представьте, если бы это была реально Архонт, которая бы сейчас разозлилась. Ну, было бы не очень хорошо.
It would seem that there has been a misunderstanding. To be clear, the raising of both hands is not always an indication of surrender.
Looking for excuses again, huh?
I raised my hands just now to indicate my acceptance of the trial. No duel shall be necessary. I will admit that I've been running away for a long time. I'm sorry, everyone. I was unable to protect the people of Poisson. You are not the only ones to be disappointed in me. I, too, am exceedingly disappointed in myself. But now, it is time for the Hydro Archon to show you her courage and resolve. I, Farina, will use this trial to show the world the true meaning of justice. This time, I will protect you. Applaud and rejoice. One of the most outrageous and fantastical arcs known to the opera epiclese is now unfolding before your eyes. Mark my words, this shall be one of the most exhilarating and brilliant shows ever to grace the stage of Fontaine. The trial of the Hydro Archon, Fosalor, will now begin!
Woohoo!
Oh, now we're making history.
Да, момент исторический, но ситуация не очень.
Why does it feel like Farina just took over the whole thing? Like, come on! Didn't she just get forced to stand trial for her crime? Also, even though she's still acting super dramatic, she is taking this seriously this time, right?
All right, then. Who will be my opponent in this trial?
The court asks the prosecutor to please take the stand.
Да, ваша честь. И это я. Подстава, да?
That so. Very well. Then please speak, witness of Tivat, my accuser and fated opponent.
Она была так близка, чтобы открыть мне свой секрет. И теперь мы здесь. Да, все испортили. Ничего, мы еще успеем во всем разобраться. Надо только победить Фарину в зале суда. Не думаю, что есть шансы реально все закосячить, наоборот.
Also, please allow me to ask, as a final question before the trial
Какое
begins.
доверие после такого? Вот с ее стороны, может быть. Хотя тут будут ссылаться на ее чувство вины и бла-бла-бла, да, и поэтому она скажет, что мы молодец, все делали нормально, а я вот думаю, это подстава со своей колокольни.
Just how much work did you do to force me onto this stage?
Я бы им больше ничего никогда не сказала. Лично я.
Well, we did do a lot of prep after the meeting that day.
I can go over the tasks assigned to the Spina di Rosula, since they were rather straightforward and easy.
Navia, the president of the Spina di Rosula.
Most of the people who participated in the disturbance this morning were my subordinates.
Угу. Ее специально спровоцировали.
They changed into plain clothes and came to the opera house as regular audience members, waiting for the perfect opportunity. The people's resentment against their Archon has been building as more and more of the prophecy is fulfilled. A spark was all we needed to turn smoldering anger into a flame. Moreover, according to our understanding and analysis of you, when something like that occurred, you would likely flee the scene and head to Poisson by yourself. So, we arranged for a second group to lie in wait there.
So, you mean the ones who scoured the settlement for me were also from the Spina?
And their goal was to force you to step into the giant magic box so you may personally participate in the greatest magic performance in all of Fontanian history.
That's right. That house was a magic box, rather than someone's residence.
As the super ultimate version of the setup that I used when I first performed at the Opera Epiclese, the volume of the box was increased by a whole order of magnitude, and the distance it traversed was the entire gap between Poisson and was an Archon instead of a human. My thanks, Farina. Without your help, we could never have
Самое главное, мне
pulled
же
off
сказали,
such an
как перевезли
extraordinary
в итоге.
performance.
You're welcome.
Of course, this performance was only made possible with Father's support. The House of the Hearth spent a massive amount of labor in Mora to pull this off.
Они серьезно пути
We had to
строили.
select a location, construct the giant magic box, dig a
Строить
tunnel,
туннель,
and
они
open
рыли
up a path through the
О
water.
боже.
It was a lot of work for all of us.
Путь по воде. Да не построили бы они этот туннель за полгода.
So, in other words, the earthquake that we felt within the giant magic box was just a normal tremor from the transportation of...
That's right. It wasn't a sign of another disaster to come.
Прости, мы тебя обманули. Да, мы так просто так говорим. Ну смотри, у Итры виноватый вид.
Then, I can guess Nervilette and Cloran's parts. You gathered a crowd, prepared a stage, and made sure that the champion duelist would be immediately ready for a fight. Also that as soon as I appeared on the stage, the trial may commence without a hitch. Am I right?
Угу. Процесс, от которого невозможно отказаться. Ну, естественно. В этом и был смысл.
Yes, that is correct.
Well, Clorand, I must commend you for your courage. Only the most outstanding champion duelist in all of Fontaine would accept a duel with an Archon without flinching.
Я вот знала правду, поэтому я не сильно переживала за Кларинду, но вот будь ситуация другой, было бы стремнее всего именно за нее.
Thank you.
As for you, traveler, I suppose your role was to keep me distracted
А мы
with
вообще подстава из
conversation
подстав.
once you found me in Poisson. You'd make sure that I didn't notice anything amiss before revealing yourself as my prosecutor once we'd arrived onto the stage.
Нет, ты не угадала.
Oh?
Моей задачей было дать тебе последний шанс. Мы надеялись, что ты поделишься с нами своим секретом, пока волшебный ящик еще не выкатился на сцену.
Is that so? Then I suppose I must have missed my final chance.
Я лишилась последнего шанса? Ну, типа того.
It's fine. It matters not. What's done is done. The stage is already set, so there's no reason to disappoint the audience. Let's see this trial through to the very end.
Да, теперь остается одно — провести суд над Гидроархонтом. Все равно не могу отделаться от мысли о том разговоре. Что хотела сказать мне Фурина перед тем, как очутилась на сцене? Слишком быстро ящик открыли, реально. Наш почти открыла рот. Она, конечно, его потом закрыла, и у меня была мысль, блин, неужели не скажет? Но мне кажется, мы бы еще пару раз на нее надавили, и все. А теперь вот это вот.
Sir Prosecutor, please allow me to pass this along. This is a document that Miss Charlotte applied for and received permission to share with you during the trial. According to her, it should speed up the proceedings.
Huh? Charlotte wanted to give us something? Oh, so she's here too! Hey, Charlotte! Oh, let Paimon see. Isn't this the exclusive interview that she did with us before? So she's already finished it, huh? Wait, then that means this document is a perfect timeline of everything that's happened ever since we stepped foot in Fontaine! So in other words, we can refer to this anthology of evidence every time we want to use something from our journey as evidence for an argument!
Очень полезный подарок.
Let's quickly confirm the information in it. Just think of it as a refresher, alright?
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the very first duels you took part in at the Opera House. That's one for the history books, all right?
В разгар первого выступления Лини и Линнет в оперном театре развернулась трагедия. Когда с них были сняты все обвинения, их личности как агентов дома АЧК были раскрыты.
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the very first duel. I didn't think that you'd wind up getting to the bottom of the case I'd been following all this time.
Улики.
I guess you could also see this as a happy coincidence.
Правда о деле об исчезновениях девушек. Оказалось, что фонтейнцев можно растворить водой. В течение многих лет Вашер похищал и растворял девушек для своих экспериментов, пытаясь найти способ вернуть свою жену, которая была растворена в результате несчастного случая.
I didn't think that you'd wind up getting to the bottom of the case I'd been following all this time. I guess you could also see this as a happy coincidence.
Осуждение
This is the
Чайльда.
first time Monsieur Nervillet had a difference of opinion with the oratories. Even the Hydro Archon can't figure it out.
Хоть Нёв и считал Чайльда невиновным, ораторис вынесла обвинительный приговор. Даже Фурина не знала, почему. А точно, я уже про это забыла.
A Fatui Harbinger. She's an extraordinary person. Her instinct must mean something.
Во время дипломатической встречи со слугой она рассказала, что уже самостоятельно исследовала Фурину и считает возможным, что Фурина не только не является архонтом, но и поражена каким-то проклятием.
The fortress of Meripede was almost destroyed in a single day. That I didn't witness that scene personally will always be a source of professional regret, I think.
Попадание первозданного моря в крепость. Вход в первозданное море запечатан под запретной зоной в крепости Меропит. И не так давно море чуть не вырвалось наружу. Лишь сила Неова смогла оттеснить его на некоторое время.
According to Monsieur Nervillet, both Child and that whale should have been in the primordial sea at that time.
Подожди, что?
According to Monsieur Nervillet,
Находились в водах
both
первозданного моря.
Child and that
Во
whale
сне
should have
увидели
been in the
Чайльда,
primordial
плывущего
sea at
по
that
морю
time.
и огромного кита. Ага. В первозданном море, да?
I nearly lost my awesome friend Navia. To be honest, that still gives me shivers.
Навия падает в морскую воду. Во время исследования руин в окрестностях Пуассона они начали разрушаться, и Навия упала в воду, в которой содержалась вода первозданного моря. Только защита погибших членов не позволила ей раствориться. Ага.
The words of someone as extraordinary as a witch can probably only be truly understood when something surreal happens to you.
Энн связалась с тобой через твое сознание. Она считает, что пророчество обязательно исполнится, но теперь нельзя терять надежду. Ну ладно, допустим.
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin.
Заседание открыто. Поехали. Наконец-то. Я ждала этого 1000 лет, реально.
There's no need to repeat all the unimportant legalese. Just fast forward to the part where the prosecution lays out my offenses. As the defendant and the lead actress of this performance, I still haven't even been informed of my supposed guilt in all of this. Of course, it is only natural for humans to struggle to understand the actions of a god. However, you will need more than that to convict me of a crime.
That's true.
but my charge here is unrelated to your conduct as an Archon.
Он разговаривает, боже мой, ну наконец-то.
Instead, I would like to charge you as a fraud who's never been the Archon in the first place.
Судим тебя за то, что ты вовсе не Архон. Ну, наконец-то эти слова произнесены.
Wait, what was that? Lady Farina's a fraud?
Hey, I came here thinking that we were going to try the Hydro Archon for forsaking her duty, but did I hear that right?
Charge accepted. Lady Farina, do you plead guilty to the charge? Lady Farina.
Странно, что она не играет. Она могла сказать, да, я Архон, но все равно у нее какая-то заготовленная мысль на подобное должна была быть. Типа, либо она до конца утверждает обратное, либо говорит, да, не Архон, ты чё? Вариант 2. Она стоит, молчит. Это странно, стрёмно и, блин, непонятно.
I plead not guilty. How can I be guilty?
Не, во, отнекивается, нормально, ладно.
There is no way that I, Focalor, otherwise known as Farina de Fontaine, a member of the Seven and the Regina of all waters, kindreds, peoples, and laws of Fontaine, could be anything other than your true Archon.
Yeah, even though Lady Farina can be rather eccentric, isn't it going too far to doubt her very identity?
Yeah, I've never questioned her identity either. Sure, Lady Farina can be super irresponsible, but what grounds does that prosecutor have to make such a huge claim?
I have cause to believe that common sense will prevail in this case. Many of the members of the audience have known me as the Hydro Archon ever since they were born. There would be no fooling their memory. See? Even the Oratrice has decided to show me its favor. Are you sure you want to commit to a charge that will never be upheld? If you wish to drop the case, I can promise you as the God of Justice that you will not have to face trial for making a false accusation. We will treat everything that's happened as a dramatic spectacle and move on with our lives.
An argument with near impossible odds, huh? We have to not only refute Farina's claims, but also overturn the long-held beliefs of the people.
Практически вывернуть теперь наизнанку. Окей. Люди верят, что ты Архонт, потому что привыкли верить. Привыкли верить, они реально видели, что оно не меняется годами.
Well, I tried to give you the chance to surrender. If you must persist, then let me ask.
Но мы-то знаем, что даже те же адепты живут очень долго. Ее реально могли подменить. На ней какое-то проклятие плюс. Я улягусь поудобнее, продолжим.
And if I was not the Archon, then how did I manage to live for over 500 years?
Больше 5 веков на свете живет. Надо подумать, что особенного мы знаем о Фарине. Да ни хрена мы не знаем, по сути. Встреча со слугой против. Возможно, ты из другой расы, которая отличается долголетием. Или тебя прокляли.
Who gave you that idea? Was it the knave? You'd sink so low as to use a harbinger's words against me.
Сейчас важнее выяснить правду.
A curse. I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble the type of curse. But in light of this claim, perhaps what I sensed was not your divinity, but a curse after all.
Neville sensed it too, huh?
Нёв тоже что-то чувствовал. Угу. Итак, Фарина, ты не Архонт, а человек, несущий на себе проклятие.
Lady Farina is actually a human?
Well, it is true that it's extremely difficult to tell humans and gods apart just by looking at them. It's not impossible.
Well, don't start celebrating too early now. Even if I have been carrying a curse like you said, how does that prove that I am merely a human being? Besides, everyone knows that the main difference between a human and a god is the possession of authority. Gods can do what humans cannot. That's why they're worshipped as gods. For centuries, manifestations of my authority have served the nation of Fontaine. One need only to turn their eyes towards the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal in this very opera house, or consider the endemitium that is used in every aspect of life.
Стоп, тот процесс доказал, что Фарина не имеет никакой власти над Оратрис. Угу. Осуждение Чайлда, да.
You tried to reference the Oratrice, but weren't you as confused as all the rest of us when the Oratrice declared Child to be guilty
Артрис, оно называется.
Otherwise, you should have come up with a good explanation for that by now.
Didn't I make myself clear at the time? The decisions of the gods are naturally difficult for humans to comprehend. There is no need to provide an explanation.
Lady Farina, I believe a reminder of your current circumstances is in order. While the court is in session, the principles of justice and the law must come before all else. While you are an Archon, you are also first and foremost the defendant in this trial. You will prove yourself unable to defend against the prosecution's charges if you continue to withhold vital information against the rules of the court.
I never thought you'd use that kind of rhetoric against me.
That was no trick of rhetoric, Lady Farina. I've merely reiterated the rules of the court. Rules that all should respect and follow.
So, you neither knew why Child was declared guilty, nor did you understand the structure and operations of the Oratrice. Instead of having been created by you, the manifestations of authority you mentioned have been made by the real Hydro Archon, haven't they?
The real Hydro Archon? Well, now you're really losing me. It is true that I did not know why the Oratrice gave out a guilty verdict that day. But the Oratrice handed out that verdict unilaterally, and it has been operating independently ever since it was first created. You can't argue that just because a divine creation is flawed, that the god behind it must also be no god at all.
She's still throwing out all kinds of excuses. Seems like she's confident that we won't be able to produce proof that she has no power over the Oratrice.
Хорошо, давайте пока оставим Оратрис. Госпожа Фарина, не могли бы вы продемонстрировать нам свою силу Архонта? Она их вот раз демонстрировала.
My power as an Archon. There are many ordinary citizens in the audience. How can I just carelessly demonstrate the formidable power of an Archon?
If that poses a concern, I'm prepared to extend my protection to the audience.
You don't need to go that far.
Покажите свое владение силой Гедра, это будет достаточно. Исполните мою просьбу под силу любому смертному с глазом Бога. У нее даже глаза Бога нет, я думала, ей хотя бы это дали.
Aren't you the Hydro Archon? Or is it that you can't even wield the power of
Ну это уже, знаете, совсем. Она хотя бы как-то должна элементом воды управлять, потому что, блин, неужели за 500 лет не заметили, что она и капелькой управлять не может? Ну не может быть.
Derive their power from the faith of the people, and I've converted the people's faith in justice into indemnitium. Thus did I give up all of my divine power to provide everyone with energy for their daily lives. Have you ever seen a more magnanimous god?
Isn't that a huge stretch?
Yeah, no matter how generous an Archon can be, how could they give up all their power? Can a god with no power even still be called a god?
It seems like nobody's buying Farina's excuse.
Hey, come now, everyone. Please don't stare at me as if I was a liar. I'm still the same Farina you knew, right? The one that you loved. Please, you've got to believe me.
If what the prosecutor said is true, she really has committed a grave offense.
Did she deceive all of us? And all of our parents and grandparents too? And then all of our ancestors? Ever since they were born?
Enough. That's enough. Tell me then, if I'm not the real Hydro Archon, then who is? If you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find anyone who can back up their claim to be such, then what grounds have you to say that I'm not actually the real deal?
Wow, she came up with yet another argument. How can we refute her now?
Если мы не можем доказать, что она не является архонтом, стоит попробовать доказать, что она простая смертная. А если она простая смертная... то она может раствориться в воде. Я просто об этом подумала. Я не знаю, что конкретно сюда должно встать, но тут про воду речь. Это значит... И как раз мы, когда сидели в ящике, подумала, блин, если нас снова трясет и реально затопит, ее же растворит. У меня была именно эта мысль. Бросим ее в первозданное море, и она растворится, как русалочка.
Please apply to serve as a temporary attorney for the prosecution before addressing the court. Though...
Super sorry, Monsieur Chief Justice. I swear this really will be the last time that I'll speak out of turn. Now, I've brought some seawater from Poisson. As everyone knows, a massive flood struck the area not long ago, taking many lives.
И она с собой носит такое страшное оружие.
Including those of some of my closest friends. So, Miss Farina, would you dare to touch some of this seawater? If we are to believe that you are indeed the real Hydro Archon, touching this seawater would have no effect on you. But if you don't dare to touch it, then we would have basically proved the reverse. Oh, and I must remind you that after the disaster at Poisson, nobody wants to see any more people dissolve. I do hope you'll act prudently and choose the simpler path of admitting guilt.
Navia from the Spina di Rasula. The Spina has governed Poisson for many years. I guess her suggestion is valid.
If Lady Farina is indeed just a human, she's probably Fontanian like all the rest of us. Would she really dare to try?
Farina?
Lady Farina, this test has been unilaterally proposed by the prosecution. As it falls outside the realm of standard court proceedings, you possess the right to decline participation.
Well, of course he had to tell her that. But refusing to participate is basically the same as a confession of guilt.
She's just staring at the water without saying a single word. It really...
What's going on? Is she really planning to... that's not what we thought.
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Farina, you may...
Она сунула руку. Я просто думаю, проклятие защищает ее от растворения или нет? Или вода настоящая? В смысле, обычная?
Hey!
Она?
I'm fine. Look at me, everyone. My hand is still here. I haven't been dissolved.
Я растворилась. Не, ну если вода обычная, то... Блин, они не хотели бы ей рисковать, да, но... Если вода обычная, тогда мы ничего не добились. Теперь все думают, что она Архонт.
Miss Siegewin? If you're present, Miss Siegewin, please come forward and attend to the defendant.
Siegewin? Don't be nervous. It'll just take a few seconds. Let me see. That should be enough.
Please announce the results of your evaluation to the court, Miss.
As everyone doubtlessly saw, Miss Farina was displaying symptoms of hyperventilation and flushed skin. She was experiencing the adverse effects of exposure to primordial seawater. The extent to which she was affected is the same as other humans when exposed to primordial
И концентрацию уменьшили.
concentration.
Thank you, Miss Siegewin. Lady Farina, you may return to the defendant's stand.
Oh, wait. What did she just say? I didn't get dissolved. Shouldn't that be enough to prove my innocence?
Well, considering your tendency to run from your problems, we did originally prepare a direct sample. However, after extensive discussion, we exchanged it for a sample that is not concentrated enough to dissolve an actual human. After all, on the off chance that something
Ну, блин, а представьте, она бы в реальную воду сунула руку. И чё, она бы сейчас исчезла, и что?
We don't want anyone else to lose their life to the sea.
Yeah, so out of regard for Farina's life, you secured a low-concentration sample and asked... It's a great thing that the direct sample wasn't actually used. Farina could have...
I can't believe... You...
Ну что это было? Фарина не могла не осознать последствий своего поступка. Да, она хотела раствориться. Она была готова раствориться, охренеть. Все бросить. Очень на нее не похоже. Неужели ей важнее доказать свою божественность, чем сохранить жизнь? Она ведь явно на все махнула рукой.
Listen to me, everyone. Please don't give me such cold and disdainful looks. What happened just now didn't prove a single thing. Think about it. How can you conclusively prove that an Archon can't also be affected by the primordial seawater? Also, if I was really just a human, why would I dare to just put my hand in that kind of water? Please, everyone, anyone, just listen to me. I swear, I really am your Archon.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. The odds are just too stacked against her now.
With all the things that have been said, Paimon doesn't think there's any way left for Farina to win.
I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment.
I don't think anything she says at this point will sway anyone. She's too stacked against her now.
In my capacity as Chief Justice, I shall now render judgment on Farina's misrepresentation of herself as the Archon of Fontaine. As a human who knowingly deceived her fellow citizens, Farina is guilty.
Виновна.
We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinal to render the final verdict on the charges. According to the judgment of the oratrice mécanique d'analyse cardinale, Farina is...
Да.
Well, what's wrong? What's the oratrice's verdict?
Неужели Оратрис признала Фурину невиновной?
No. The oratrice also displays
Нет,
a
он
guilty
тоже
verdict.
считает Фурину виновной. О, а он ожидал другого?
Isn't that correct then?
Значит, все правильно.
However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus. The Hydro
Формулировка вердикта: Гидра Архонт виновна. Но
to be punished via
приговаривается к смертной казни.
The death sentence?
К смертной казни?
That's actually one of the available sentences? I've always thought that it was just a myth.
The one and only time the death sentence has been handed out at the court, and it's been given to the very person we've worshipped as the god of justice?
Farina's been sentenced to death by the oratrice? We just wanted to use the trial to show her the seriousness of things so she'd tell us the truth.
This outcome is indeed quite strange. According to Fontaine's current definitions of justice, is this sentence really appropriate for the crimes that have been committed?
Относится ли вынесенный приговор с тяжестью совершенного преступления? Он в этом сомневается, что... Не пойми, кто выдавал себя за бога местного. Да, конечно, как бы это смертная казнь. Для меня это естественно и логично. А чё они так все удивляются? Другое дело, что мы пытались другого добиться, когда все это затевали. Блин, тот всего лишь девок воровал. Не путайте, ребят. Это себя за богиню выдавало. Мне кажется, это несоизмеримо. Что еще более странно, Оратрис объявила виновной не Фурину, а Гидра Архонта. Вот в том-то и дело. Это и есть ключик.
Indeed. Not only is Farina's sentence overly excessive, the very point of our trial today was also to prove that Farina has
Фарина
never
не
been
Гидра
the
Архонт.
Hydro-Archon in the first place. But now, the oratrice seems to have deliberately invoked the title of the Hydro-Archon. What does this mean?
Новый день начался.
Excuse me, if I may interrupt. Is the trial still going?
Fremine! You finally made it.
Mm-hmm. Any mission Father assigns to me will always be top priority.
Is that the first prophecy slate?
Они нашли первую плиту. Нифига себе, они везде просочатся. Ага.
So the knave privately arranged for Fremine to try and find the missing slate.
I looked everywhere and finally found it at the bottom of the sea. But has the trial already concluded? Then doesn't that mean I've come too late? Oh no.
Нет, еще не поздно, еще не поздно.
Father will be disappointed in me.
Thank you for your hard work, Mr. Fremine. Please allow me to review the record left on the slate. Traveler, I believe that you have already seen the other existing slates. I would like you to come here and confirm.
Huh? So what do you see? What is it?
Предыдущий гидрорахонт обращается к своей силе, чтобы превратить океанидов в людей.
I believe I have now made sense of the Hydro-Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine's lost history.
Huh? Isn't the Hydro-Archon just guilty of deceiving her people? Oh, wait, no, that's Farina, and we've so when you say Hydro-Archon, do you mean the real Hydro-Archon we've been kinda talking about?
In truth, everything that you've encountered in Fontaine up until this point can be traced back to the contents of these stone slates. However, I'm uncertain as to how much sense they currently make to you.
Изображения на плитах связаны с реальными событиями.
Okay, let's try to recall the contents of the other 3 stone slates. Paimon will do her best to help you remember.
Выберите возможность проверки описания на каменных плитах, чтобы извлечь из них ключевую информацию. Сценарий, связанный с содержимым каменных табличек, можно найти в данных. Ага. Истинный смысл пророчества мы сейчас будем узнавать. Прикольно, наконец-то.
It seems to show the previous Hydro Archon using her divine power, and then the Oceanids turn into humans.
Как они из этой картинки поняли, что она превращает океанидов в людей? Я не очень поняла.
Does that mean that Fontanians are transformed Oceanids? Oh, Paimon wasn't expecting that. But if Oceanids can turn into humans, then perhaps this process can be reversed as well. The second stone slate shows Celestia floating in the sky, and the Hydro Archon and her people worshipping it together. But the heavens still brought judgment down upon them. This must be the point when the Hydro Archon and the Fontanians were branded with their original sin. Does this mean that the original sin and the Hydro Archon sin are the same thing? The third slate shows the Hydro Archon sinking into the sea surrounded by many people. That reminds Paimon, didn't we also watch that happen to someone else? Well, the fourth slate is the prophecy the Fontanians have been talking about. People dissolving into the sea, the Hydro Archon crying on her throne, and so on. We didn't believe that such a crazy disaster could happen at first, did we? But after that incident, it was just a question of when and not if.
Правдивое событие, имеющее отношение к плитам. Бывший гидрархонт использует силу для превращения океанидов в людей. Да, вот Нави. Нет? А что еще тут есть? Не то.
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontanians can be dissolved in primordial seawater.
Наконец-то Скай начал разговаривать.
Tells us that long ago, the Hydro Archon used her power to turn Oceanids into humans. This might be the reason that Fontanians can dissolve.
Угу. Плита с пророчеством. Просто интересно потыкать всякое.
Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. The true sin of the Hydro Archon that Nervalet mentioned, and the original sin cast down on the people of Fontaine by Celestia, as recorded on the stone slates.
Угу. Так, дальше. Плита с пророчеством 3. На нем изображен гидрархонт, окруженный множеством людей, погружающийся в море.
It's not as simple as falling into the sea. When
Не просто падение в море.
Her consciousness was subjected to judgment. The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro Archon in the sea. Could that be alluding to the same thing?
Почему вообще Чайлда приплели, интересно?
The prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society. But not many people believed it at first. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater. which we know can cause Fontanians to dissolve. It seems increasingly likely that the prophecy may come true. If we hadn't dealt with it in time, things could have gone very badly.
They'll dissolve into the primordial sea but won't cease to exist. Their essence will flow in the seawater, converge, and take the form of an oceanid. The Hydro Archon was sentenced to death in court, shocking everyone present. Perhaps this means that her sin was actually Fontaine's original sin. Navia fell into the water inside those ruins, and she nearly dissolved. She was surrounded by the people of Poisson in a court within her consciousness, and was... The eruption of the primordial sea at the fortress of Meripede was the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass no matter what. The stone slate's contents can all be verified by recent events. If we combine what we know to... Huh? Oh, Paimon gets it now! So that's how you can make sense of it! But then it feels like we're going to have to share some
Let's hear them.
Из первой плиты явствует, что уроженцы Фонтейна не настоящие люди.
Incredible. Linny, did you hear that?
We're not real humans.
Они сами об этом не знают. Стремно, когда тебе говорят, ты вообще не человек. Я думала, что ты человек и что дальше.
All Fontanians were originally created by the late previous Hydro Archon, with Oceanids as their basis.
Все фонтейнцы были созданы предыдущим гидроархонтом из океанидов.
The evidence for that can be found in how only Fontanians could dissolve in primordial seawater. And according to Navia, when she was about to get dissolved, she also saw every...
Indeed.
Из второй плиты можно заключить, что преступление гидроархонта состоит в сотворении фонтейнцев.
Yeah, and it follows from the content of the first slate that she probably angered Celestia by creating humans without prior permission. That could also explain why the Oratrice judged the Hydro Archon to be guilty. It's to account for that ancient sin.
The Hydro Archon's true sin was creating us?
And yet, after many hundreds of years, the Hydro Archon's creations have turned around to try to judge
И много
the
столетий
Archon within the
спустя
archon
творение
eclipse.
пытается судить Архонта на сцене оперного
The
театра.
twists of history are often the most
Порой история
unexpected of
делает
all.
крутые повороты. То есть она их создала, они ее и судят. Ну-ну. Tретья плита. Все же мне кажется, что она должна быть последней.
Yeah, isn't the image here just like when Navia fell into the sea? So wouldn't it be trying to show the image of the Hydro Archon also falling into the sea once the prophecy has been fulfilled in the fourth slate?
На четвертой плите изображено, как исполняется известное всем пророчество.
In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away.
Только тогда грехи жителей Фонтейна будут смыты.
Did Paimon get all that right?
Ага.
You've made some keen deductions. I must say, given how much you still don't know, it is impressive that you've already managed to connect so many pieces of the truth. However, while you were able to decode all the information on the slates, they've also been etched with an additional layer of hidden information using a different power source. When we were at the ruins, I tried to decipher the hidden information recorded in the slates. But since we only had 3 slates at the time, I was unable to... Now that the slate collection is complete, I shall make another attempt to decipher the narrative recorded within.
Well?
I believe I should share this truth not only with you, but with all the people of Fontaine as well. I will try to briefly summarize it for you. Your hypotheses regarding the origin of Fontanians and the sin of in the Fontaine of old, the previous Hydro Archon sensed the yearning of her Oceanid familiars for life on land. The Oceanids were enamored with the beauty and romanticism of human beings, and wishing to have those experiences for themselves, expressed to the Hydro Archon their desire to become of a similar kind. However, even though water as an element is intricately linked with the power of life, the Hydro Archon, as one of the seven, did not want to give in. She eventually found a way to create permanent humanoid bodies for her familiars by appropriating the power of this planet's primordial sea. She poured primordial seawater into the Oceanids' blood vessels, creating humanoid mimics in the process. But if Fontanians were to ever come into direct contact with water from the primordial sea, the power within their bodies would escape these artificial restraints and return to the sea. As a result, their forms would collapse, and they would be reverted to their original forms as Oceanids. Of course, the Hydro Archon never received permission from the heavenly principles to create a new human race. And thus, the Hydro Archon and all of her creations came to shoulder the original sin of appropriating the power of the primordial sea. That is the true history of how the people of Fontaine first came into being.
So we were all Oceanids before we turned into human beings?
Ну, вообще, я думаю, знаете о чем? О том, что это было черти знает когда, и вот эти вот все, они же уже, это не океаниды, превращенные в людей, это уже их дети, внуки и так далее, к тому, что, блин, ну, они или не... Они с детства были людьми, с рождения. И это все-таки не океаниды. И чем бы их форма далее не стала. И так кажется. Ну, что называется, если ты считаешь себя человеком, наверное, ты человек. Как бы это неправильно не звучало, тоже, знаете. Считать-то себя можно кем угодно, хоть бабочкой. Что называется, для других ты бабочкой не станешь, но они выглядят как люди, и ведут себя как люди, и родились, по их мнению, от людей. И я не знаю, это так странно. Ладно.
That's way too much information for me. I think I'm just going to pretend that I never heard a single thing.
Я постараюсь все забыть, да. Самое простое все забыть. Жил себе человеком и продолжаешь.
Wait, but if that's the truth, we can't let the Hydro Archon be sentenced to death. After all, her only sin was creating us.
Наверное, после прелести человеческой жизни не хочется уходить в воду.
This really might be too much information for your regular Fontanian, but it...
Alas, your hypothesis regarding the third and fourth stone slates was inaccurate. The slates' respective positions are, in fact, correct.
Значит, последовательность верна. В таком случае, что изображено на третьей плите?
A key point of the visual on the third slate is how all the individuals depicted in the water are humans rather than Oceanids.
Mm-hmm.
They have not been dissolved, which implies that the water depicted in this slate is not water from the primordial sea. The nation of Fontaine is the nation of Hydro, as well as the nation of trials and justice. Instead of being the literal element, the water in the scene symbolizes judgment, and you may also recall Navia's experience. When she fell into the sea, her consciousness was surrounded by that of many others who intended to hold a trial to determine her fate. Therefore, the meaning of the third slate is that the people of Fontaine shall try the Hydro Archon.
Люди попытаются осудить своего гидроархонта. Да, неужели?
Yes, it refers to our present situation.
Именно это сейчас и происходит.
I think I'm following now. So, what you're saying is, even though we decided to put on this trial,
то есть мы пытались предотвратить пророчество, но наоборот получилось все. Мы действуем по нему.
In truth, everything we've done has happened exactly as the prophecy foretold.
What should we do?
Не знаю, кажется, выхода нет.
Huh. No matter what, the prophecy will be fulfilled. Is this what it feels like to be a prisoner of fate?
If that's the case, does that mean the scene in the fourth slate will also be fulfilled soon?
Traveler, I would like to point out another small fallacy in your deductions. About the fourth slate. You probably thought that the eruption of primordial seawater beneath the fortress of Meripede served as the surest sign that the prophecy was about to come to pass, yes? However, I believe that rather than being a sure sign, that eruption could in fact only be a small warning of something far worse to come. As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before.
Я? Неужели? Решающее доказательство.
This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
Главный виновник катастроф. Люди, ставшие океанидами, тот факт, что фонтейцы могут раствориться в воде первозданного моря и стать океанидами, доказывает их происхождение. Гидрархонт был приговорен к невиданному ранее наказанию. Только какой грех заслуживает такого приговора? Здесь все есть, но последнее получается. В разгар первого выступления линии Линнет в оперном театре развернул строки. Это не то. Я не очень поняла, что тут должно быть. Ой. Случайно скипнула. В сне мы видели Чайлда, плывущего по морю, и огромного кита. Это чисто то, что мы видели, мы говорим. Но мало ли, что мы видим во сне.
The truth, the original sin, the trial, and the root cause of the disaster.
Движуха пошла. Стоило о нем упомянуть, да? Серьезно? Ну вот, кита побили. Какой он красивый все-таки. Явился, не запалился. А, и обратно упал. Что? Да, стоило о нем подумать. Это стрёмно. Думаю, это тот самый кит, с которым встречался Чайлд. Вот этот момент, знаете, меня заставил задуматься о том, а вдруг это все, что придумывает главный герой в какой-нибудь коме лежа. То есть мы о чем-то подумали, и оно там сбывается и так далее и тому подобное.
So we've met it at last. I understand very well why it has chosen to make an appearance here. That whale does not belong to Tevat. It is a monster that has traversed the stars, weeping all the while.
Это монстр, что бродит от планеты к планете, не прекращая лить слезы. Что?
It has been greedily consuming the energy from the
Он
planet's
алчно
primordial
пожирает
sea,
энергию первозданного моря нашей планеты.
That is the main cause for the rising sea levels. And once it has finished consuming all of the energy contained within the sea.
You said that when the Hydro Archon first created Fontanians out of Oceanids, she filled their blood vessels with primordial seawater.
Precisely. That whale finds the blood of Fontanians
Кровь фонтейнцев
nigh
неодолимо
impossible to
притягивает к
resist.
себе кита.
Therefore, when it left the primordial sea, it decided to make its next stop a packed opera house full of food.
We just barely managed to push it back, right? In that case, won't it come back to target the people again once it's managed to recover its strength?
That is correct. Indeed, it is more accurate to say that we should thank that harbinger for buying us some time. Without him, the whale would have likely come onto land far sooner. From the way he looked, he must have been fighting the creature for quite a long time.
That battle maniac. We've always known that he had a special connection with that whale, but we definitely didn't expect it to help us out like this. Anyway, now that we know that this whale is the actual cause of the disaster recorded in the prophecy, all we need to do to stop the prophecy would be to find a
Ну
way
все,
to
остается
beat it up,
победить
right?
кита. Нормально.
It is too late.
Слишком поздно. Что?
It had already absorbed too much of the primordial sea's energy before we could notice it. At this point, it has become practically integrated with the sea itself. Even if the entirety of Tevat were to be destroyed, it could still survive and swim off towards some other world.
That's not something I will accept. We've already done everything we can, and we even found the true culprit. We've come so far. You can't just tell me that the last hurdle is some impossible foe.
Indeed, that's not how a grand performance should end.
I'll fight it to the end, no matter what.
So the prophecy will be fulfilled no matter what, huh?
The prophecy. Yes, what has been prophesied will be fulfilled. You may view such things as the history of the future.
Если все дело в судьбе,
Just as prophecies are usually only the future as seen from the perspectives of the gods.
в пророчествах обычно говорится будущее, показано будущее, увиденное богами. Но даже боги видят не все. Да, я про это уже говорила. Слепая зона для богов.
Ultimately, fate shall serve as your only guide, no matter what will happen in Tevat's future.
Выходит, даже если пророчество исполнится, у них все равно остается путь к спасению. Неужели что-то упустил? Марина, что она хотела сказать тогда в огромном волшебном ящике? Что у нее за секрет?
What's happening with the oratories?
Что происходит с Аратрис?
It is preparing to carry out the
Наступает время казни. Фурина.
No, I still need answers.
Так нас куда-то перенесло, да? Опять какое-то подпространство провалились или что?
Sorry. That shocked expression on your face is just too amusing.
Даже голос совсем другой.
You are not Farina.
Ты не Фарина.
Who are you?
Кто ты? Они очевидны.
The sweet sound of bewilderment.
The colors.
Marvelous. A sure sign that my attempt to deceive everyone was a resounding success. But to answer your question, I am Focalor. You know.
Focalor? Why did you deceive us?
Oh, that wasn't my goal, of course. Goodness, no. But I had to fool everyone else too, if I would the heavenly principles.
Хотела обмануть небесный порядок. Ну да, тут вмешались какие-то людишки, прицепились к ней, судить начали. Ну. Ой, понятно все.
It's all because of that pernicious prophecy. Dreadful, wasn't it? Everyone doomed to dissolve. Fontaine condemned to be flooded. One was not amused. In fact, one was positively bemused when that problem was thrust upon me by my dearest predecessor. That's the former Hydro Archon Egeria for the uninitiated. It hardly gets more disastrous than a preordained national catastrophe. Now does it?
Угу. Так вот становишься архонтом, кажется, что все хорошо, у тебя красивая цветущая страна, и тут предыдущий архонт тебе говорит, а все по звезде пойдет. Наслаждайся, да?
She knew full well that the prophecy would surely come to pass. And as one of the seven, she also knew full well that one defies the heavenly principles at one's peril. So yes, as you have no doubt surmised, it was a rather impossible situation that I found. I spent a terribly long time mulling it over, alone on the ocean floor. And I was almost growing barnacles by the time I finally realized I had to outwit the heavenly principles, allow the prophecy to be fulfilled, ostensibly at least. I'm a genius, I know. I can only assume that's why Egeria chose me as her successor. Although, looking back now, it was hardly the inheritance one dreams of. Between the task of saving the nation, the quotidian duties of the Hydro Archon, and not to mention the original sin of creating a new race of humans, I dare say she left me quite a colossal mess to clean up. But one can only play the hand one is dealt. I did not choose this, any more than I chose to be one of her Oceanid familiars.
So you were also once one of the Oceanids,
Тоже была
transformed into a
океанидой.
human by Egeria's hand.
Yes, I was. I always dreamed of becoming human. And I still do, even now. In my eyes, to be human is to be part of the greatest opera ever known. After becoming a god, I separated my divinity from my body and spirit, leaving behind only a self that was as naive and bewildered as my past self on her first day as a human being. The me you see before you now is that divinity. And the human counterpart I left behind, I named Farina. She could feel joy, sorrow, and everything in between. She could be as vain and conceited, or as meek and vulnerable as she wished.
Те архонты посоздавали не пойми что. Сразу вспомнилась я со своим... Ой, я и говорю. Эй, со своими скоромучами. Ой, тут тоже.
Her strengths were of a kind only a human could possess, as were her shortcomings. But in my eyes, Farina's humanity was what made her perfect. She was perfectly human in every way. Anyway, so then I cursed her.
Создала и прокляла ее.
All part of the plan, of course. The plan to deceive the heavenly principles. Do you still remember the final scene of the prophecy? The Hydra Archon alone, weeping on her throne. In order that the prophecy might appear fulfilled, I invited Farina to be an actress, to play the part of the Hydro Archon in the prophecy. Under the curse I placed on her, so long as I, Focalor's divinity, continued to exist, she could not die. But nor was she free to live her life in the pursuit of happiness. Instead, she was forced to take the stage in the opera house, to embrace the role of leading lady, to forever play the part of the god from the prophecy, all to create a deceitful appearance of that prophecy coming to pass. I suppose now you probably understand why your court is called the Opera Epiclese.
But Farina is only human, isn't she? Even though she has had a long life, her mind is no stronger than that of any other ordinary human. I cannot begin to fathom what she has had to endure. It must have been torture for her.
It has indeed. And although she is, in a sense, me in human form, I most definitely owe her an apology for it. It's been 500 years. And all along, she's been playing her part in the most unimaginably long, unbearably lonely, and agonizingly painful opera of all.
Я коснулся слез Фурины, я уже знаю, что в слезах содержатся сильнейшие эмоции. Благодаря сильной чувствительности Кедра я смог установить эмоциональную связь, как с той океанидой в фонтейне Лесин. Может, это внутренний мир Фурины? Фурина, что она делает на сцене? Возможно, это не Фурина, а проекция внутреннего я. Может быть, если обратиться к этому я напрямую, то мне будет легче узнать все необходимое. Я пришел за ответами. Эту возможность нельзя упускать. Попробуй поговорить с ней. Нас расцвело, поэтому мои попугаи запели. Опера белых роз и черных просмотрела волн, что ли?
Oh, who permitted you to come onto the stage? Now, I understand your admiration for my august self, but I must ask you to keep to the rules.
Да ладно, это же я, Фурина.
All right. It is not my intent to reprimand you. There is no need to state your name. Just be off with you. Do not distract me from my performance.
Тут же нет публики.
Oh, do not jest. Can you not feel it? I am Focalor. The eyes of countless Fontanians are upon me. I must, at all times, display the utmost elegance and nobility.
Так не пойдет. До нее не достучаться. Даже в собственном сознании она продолжает играть роль Гидра Архонта. Какой же решимостью она должна обладать, чтобы даже ее внутреннее я и подсознание имели такую непробиваемую защиту? Нужно найти способ. Выключить дурацкий свет, например. Выключите все прожекторы, да.
Dear audience, the performance is experiencing a technical difficulty, but worry not. The guards shall resolve it soon enough.
Born of ice and frost.
Yeah, skyward! Hey, what gives? The audience is still watching me, you know. Guards? Wait, where are the guards? Guards!
You're
прожекторы потухли. Кажется, я получил сейчас какой-то сигнал. Это был истинный голос. Билет, как он здесь оказался? Похоже, представление начинается. Покажи мне, что ты на самом деле чувствуешь, Фурина. Акт 1. Фурина у зеркала. За нее играю. Ну-ка, Скай в зале. Не видно. Нету. Странно.
Farina.
Huh? Who's that? Who's calling me? Where are you?
Be not nervous. Be not afraid. I am before you.
Wait a moment. You're mirror me? How can this be?
Mirror you, huh? You know what? That's not bad. Let's go with that.
Mirror me. What do you wish to say?
The prophecy.
What prophecy? Wait. I know. I think. I don't know why, but it's in my head somehow. The people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only the Hydro Archon will remain, weeping on her throne. Only.
Oh, very good. You know it well.
What's going on? I can't seem to remember anything clearly. The only thing I know for sure is this prophecy. Will it really come to pass?
Yes, it will. And that is why I've come to you. Disaster will come to Fontaine sooner or later. Things will develop just as the prophecy declared. There is no escaping it.
But doesn't that mean everyone will die? I'm a Fontainian just like them. Will I dissolve too?
Oh, don't worry. Magical meetings exist in this world precisely to give people a chance to turn things around. It is the reason why you met me today. I will tell you how to save everyone, but you may have to suffer somewhat.
Oh, so there's still hope after all. Goodness, you frightened me. You spoke so much, and was as for the suffering, well, I will admit that the first thing that came to mind was, why do I have to be the one to suffer? But if the prophecy will come true, I'll also die anyway, right? So if I've already met you as my magical meeting in this world, if there were scales, with all the people of Fontaine on one side, and my pain on the other, is it not obvious where the scales should tilt?
You truly are the perfect human, my ideal. I suppose this would also be the justice that belongs to you.
Huh?
Don't worry, it's nothing. Listen well. Fontaine has just lost its Hydro Archon. I need you to play a role, that of the new Archon.
Play as a god?
That's right. You must begin a never-ending masquerade. You must never let anyone suspect your identity. If you can keep it up, then I shall have my way of defying this prophecy. But should your identity be revealed, then all hope will be lost.
But how will I do this? A human assuming the role of a god without being exposed.
Don't worry. What you must do is not to turn yourself into a real god. You simply need to play the role of a god as humans imagine them to be. Being a human yourself, I'm sure you already know what such an entity would be like. Remember, your true challenge will not be pursuing divinity, but contending against humanity.
I'm still not sure I understand, but I'll try. So, how long am I going to have to play this?
To accomplish this mission, you will have to stay on the stage for many, many years. You will endure and not grow old until your task ends. But I promise you, all will eventually end in a magnificent and dramatic trial, and everyone will be saved.
A trial, huh? How exciting.
Акт 2. Речь Фурины при вступлении в должность.
The Maison Cardinalise has announced my accession, but this is my first time facing the people. What should I say to most appear like a god? To be honest, I still don't know. Perhaps I should first try to act natural.
Набраться храбрости.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to the Opera Epiclese. I'm sure you've all heard about how I have taken on the role of Hydro Archon. Indeed, I am Verena de Fontaine, your new Archon.
Жители, конечно, тоже поражают в какой-то мере. То есть приходит не пойми кто, говорит, я ваш новый архонт. Они такие, окей, живем дальше. А мало ли кто это, с чего они взяли, что это вообще архонт. Звучит, ну, вот максимально так себе. Если вот архонт силу не демонстрирует, например.
In truth, I know little about becoming a nation's new god, but it will be my honor to guide you all. As the god Focalor, the god of justice, I shall do all within my power to lead you into an age of fairness and justice. Once again, thank you all for coming. If you should have any questions or suggestions, please send them to the Maison Cardinalise. The future of Fontaine will require us to work together, after all. This should do it. I thought I might stammer, but thankfully, I was able to convey my thoughts just fine.
That's the new Hydro Archon. Is this some kind of joke by the Maison? I would have thought that a being that surpasses humanity would be a bit more assertive.
Hey, did you hear that? She even told us to send her suggestions there at the end.
Shouldn't gods be all-powerful? She's being so modest. What's the difference between her and an ordinary
If you ask me, perhaps the succession didn't actually happen. She might just be a Maison-back puppet.
Они не поверили.
Wait, what's going on? Why is everyone suspecting me of being a fake? Right. Mirmi said that I just need to play the role of a god as you calm down, Verena. Think. What do the people want? How would they imagine a god to speak assertive, with a strong sense of presence, one who can dispel all doubt?
Oh, very good, my
Ага, и началось это ха-ха-ха. О, ужас.
you are deserving of my rule. Now, I was wondering if some weak puppet were to one day come onto the stage and claim ownership of this opera house, would the children of Font... Well, it seems that you would all see right through them. Having passed my test, you are qualified to witness wondrous trials alongside my august self, here in this opera house. You may consider my previous act a door gift of sorts. I thought it was a debut that suited the atmosphere. Now then, let us be
Ah, so that was just a performance. How could I have forgotten that we were inside an opera house?
Personality? It's quite shocking, to be honest, but I suppose it's a better look than before.
Угу.
Such a fascinating and bold deity. How wonderful! Our future may yet be bright after all.
It seems I've turned them around. Best follow this flow and restart my accession speech. My dear people, whether you acknowledge me or not, whether you trust me or nay, I say to you, keep faith in your ardor for justice. We have heard it said that this nation's sins can no longer be washed away. Well, I say that justice is most fragrant when it blooms amid sin. The scales of justice should not weigh heavy in the hands of its God. On one side, it must carry fairness and justice. And on the other, praise and applause. May law be the prayer on our lips. May judgment be our worship. Let us light the fires and drink to the future of Fontaine.
Закончить шокирующим финалом, естественно, мы теперь всех шокируем.
There is no trouble in this world that justice cannot solve. All that is needed is for you, my people, to believe in it, heart and soul.
Короче, несем бредятину максимально, и нам все верят. Ну да, разумеется.
So long as I, the Archon Focalor, stand within the opera epiclese, so long as I stand before the oratrice, I shall even judge the gods of this world!
Ну-ну. Акт 3. Фурина в оперном театре.
Lady Farina, here are today's case reports, as well as a summary of the follow-up for your perusal.
Come now, was I not just at the opera house in person? Leave these kinds of things to Neuvillette. Besides, none of these trials were the one that I'm looking forward to the most.
If I may be so impertinent, what kind of trial are you truly looking forward to?
Она сама не знала, чего ждет, какого процесса, но ждала.
A magnificent, dramatic, and wondrous trial. A trial to end all things.
That's true. I fear I lack the ability to grasp your divine thought.
No need for fright, and do not take what I said before too seriously. Go now, do your duties. The trial I await. It will come one day.
Lady Farina, I don't know what to say. Thank you for agreeing to see me.
No need to thank me. Or rather, thank your own sense of perseverance instead. Long have you stood in line to meet me, have you not? Oh, I'm afraid that's just an inevitable consequence of my divine charm.
Кажется, вот эту вот часть могли бы сократить значительно. Это все лишнее. Мое мнение, разумеется, только.
All right. Deuteria, is it?
Это все, чтобы
How
мы
is your son's illness?
больше эмпатии прониклись к Фурине.
You remembered
Это
me.
нужно было как-то по-другому преподносить, скорее всего.
He is doing much better now. In fact, he is far more of an ardent believer than I. He was the one who forced me to seek an audience with you and to bring your words back to him.
Oh, good. Very good. If this should happen again in the future, please do not hesitate to come and tell me. Going down to citizens' homes every so often, while not usual practice, should serve as a fine change of pace.
You're such a gentle and wise God. Thank you once again, on behalf of my son.
Lady Farina, here are the latest hydrological reports. As for the specific parameters you asked to take note of, I'm afraid things still don't look good.
I see. It's as I thought then. As your god, I did already expect this, but I wanted to see how far your human wisdom would allow you to analyze it. All manner of signs indicate that the prophecy will still come to pass. Forget it. That's not something you need to worry about right now.
Well, as I understand it, the Fontaine Research Institute is also trying to find a way to counter the rising water levels.
Really? Have they found anything?
I'm afraid that they haven't found any effective solution thus far.
Oh, is that so? Well, no wonder. This issue has reached the realm of the gods, after all. Still, their spirit is praiseworthy. The day is finally over. I haven't had a moment to breathe this whole time. But it's good to see that everything's getting on track. There are no longer any voices of suspicion. Maybe this is fine. I just need to keep going, and everyone will be saved. All right, Farina, don't think too hard about this. You need rest. Tomorrow...
Акт 4. Фурина в оперном театре.
Lady Farina, here are the new trial reports for the latest cases, as well as a summary of the follow-up.
There'll be no need for that. I've seen them already. There's no need to go back over scenes I've witnessed in person.
Lady Farina, I've waited...
Indeed, my dear, loyal citizen.
Lady Farina, we're detecting significant hydrological anomalies near Post...
Understood. Keep monitoring. Keep me informed should any...
Угу. День за днем у нее проходили плюс-минус одинаково, только приближение катастрофы она чувствовала все жестче и жестче.
Don't know when these days will end. I feel utterly exhausted. Best to rest early today, too.
Акт 5. Все еще в театре. Акт 182 какой-то там.
It's like a dream being able to speak with you up close like this. I've heard that the first member of our family who was honored to receive an audience with you was Madame Deuteria. Almost...
And what a fine family yours is indeed. It brings me great joy to meet such a faithful believer, a descendant of a line.
Sure.
What is it, good citizen?
Are you crying?
Uh-huh. Really now? I didn't even notice. This must be the overflow of hydro from my person. Well, can't quite help being the god whose dominion is the waters, can I?
No wonder. No wonder. A manifestation of your power, then. Oh, Archon, I am honored to have witnessed it.
Да уж, повелительница слез.
So interminable. Hundreds of years must have passed by now. I never imagined that it would hurt so much.
Не, ну эмпатию порождает, ладно. Все свои претензии я сняла. Вначале было так себе, а сейчас даже, да, работает.
Reached my limit. No. Perhaps I reached it long ago. I want to tell someone, anyone, about this. But that I've conducted so many investigations across the centuries. But there's not even a sliver of hope that we might break the prophecy. All I can do is keep heart. I must maintain this act. It is the only way to save Fontaine. Please, mirror me. You have to succeed. $182,376.
Farina,
И вот мы
you
стоим
don't
в
have to
ящике.
shoulder this burden alone. Although I don't know what you might be keeping from everyone, your people are more than willing to share your burden with you.
Это мой голос, это сцена. Как мы оказались в гигантском волшебном ящике. Отлично, я не думала, что эта сцена повторит в своем внутреннем мире. В этот раз я наконец узнаю, что она хотела мне сказать.
Share my burden. That's impossible. It was fated right from the start that this would be my duty alone.
But even if your burden doesn't need to be shared, you can still choose to confide in someone. Just share it with me. I'm what you'd call a witness.
A witness? Yes, I've heard that you came to Tevat from beyond the stars, yes. In other words, you never belonged here. And if Tevat is, in its entirety, a show on a stage, then you're just a spectator, aren't you? If that's the case... He's right. I could confide in him, couldn't I? But if things don't play out as expected, the people of Fontaine will be the ones to pay the price. No, Farina. You shouldn't be selfish. But what if it's really all right? Farina, you've worked so hard for so long. Surely it would be okay to put yourself first for once. Is it such an outrageous thing to do anyway? To find someone in whom you can confide your frustrations and sorrows? If you let this opportunity slip through your fingers, it might never come by again. Think about it long and hard. No, I have nothing to say.
am Farina, the Archon of Fontaine. Everything will surely get better. All you need to do, dear spectator, is to witness my performance until the curtains fall.
Fine.
Ладно.
So even Farina doesn't know the truth? You've never once let her in on the full plan?
Yes, it had to be done. To deceive the heavenly principles, you must first deceive yourself. She did very well. If she had let her resolve falter even once in these 5 centuries, Fontaine would have been doomed to the most tragic fate. It seems that trusting humanity was the right decision after all.
I believe that I understand how your deception works, but that is only half the truth, is it not? How would you build on this foundation to save the people of Fontaine? That is the most important thing.
Ah, good. Of course, the Iudex of Fontaine has pinpointed the crux of the issue. I'm sure you've long sensed that the Oratrice is no simple machine, yes?
I've always suspected that it had its own consciousness, and Linny did mention that he heard a human voice within the core chamber. It now seems that that person was you, hidden within the machine all along.
And then I became one with the Oratrice, taking Fontaine's gnosis
Она
with
стала
me.
единым целым с машиной,
It would seem so,
взяв с
wouldn't
собой
it?
сердце Бога.
Alas, your understanding of this in truth, it is no enactor of justice. It is, in fact,
Оратрис нужна не для того, чтобы вершить правосудие, она создана, чтобы убить богиню справедливости.
Beg your pardon?
Oh, you have it. And to be more precise, not only will the Oratrice take down the god of justice. I mean, did you think I would be the sort to enjoy peaceful repose while Farina suffered? My work over these last 500 years has been to constantly accumulate indemnitium within the Oratrice. But really, some have already discovered that only a small fraction of the energy generated by the device was the vast majority had to be accumulated.
Большая часть энергии в машине копилась, чтобы совершить смертный приговор.
It was all a part of your plan then?
Indeed. This power, accrued over 5 centuries, could have sustained Fontainians for millennia, had it only been used for that purpose. Almost all of it has now been stored within the Oratrice. But only power of this magnitude could hope to destroy the Hydro Archon's divine throne.
So the Oratrice's call for death was for neither Farina nor Focalor, but for the Hydro Archon. The destruction of that divine throne, if I do not misunderstand your intent.
Returning what's rightfully yours to you, of course. In other words, this was all done to return the authority of the Hydro Archon to the Hydro Dragon of this planet.
Другими словами, все это было ради того, чтобы вернуть власть Гидра-Архонта в руки стихийного дракона, Гидра этой планеты. Она еще и власть ему передала. А ему это надо. Он и так постоянно в делах. Просто такая я не буду властвовать сам. Развлекайся. Другие слова чуть не употребила.
The authority of the ancient dragons shall soon be yours once more, O Hydro Dragon Sovereign. And this is the face you make.
All you've done throughout the years is just so you can sacrifice yourself at the very end.
I've never quite seen it that way, you know. Even now, I'm quite pleased at how well my deception worked. Hydro Dragon, don't cry. I must say, had it been within my rights, I would have loved to judge the heavenly principles themselves. Were they not guilty of essentially the same crime? Egeria stole the power of the primordial sea, and the heavenly principles stole the power you ancient dragons possessed. I, for my part, am the god of justice. And is it not just that your original powers should be returned to you? Speaking of justice, I have always believed that justice lies in the process of pursuing human existence itself. So, if the theft of the primordial sea's might was Fontaine's original sin, then, leaving matters of procedural right and wrong aside, the descent of the Fontainians as humans and their right to exist in this world. In other words, existence was Egeria's justice, and to me, justice is the continuation of that existence. Defying the prophecy and ensuring that Fontaine's people shall live on, that should be the justice enthroned over all others. At this point, we, whether it be myself or all other Fontainians, have shouldered the burden of this sin for far too long. Iudex Nervilette, the highest judge in our land, when you regain your full power as an elemental sovereign.
So when I was invited to the court of Fontaine to serve as Iudex, I see now that that was your idea too. At last, I now understand the true purpose behind this position. In the beginning, I was uninterested in human existence. But these 5 centuries of living alongside them have gradually brought about mutual understanding between us. And I have even attempted to feel as they feel. You are a devious one, Fosalo.
Плевать он хотел на людей, просто привык за 500 лет. Ну да, ну да. В том-то и дело, что очень... Ну, такое, да?
Things being as they are, surely you know that I could never declare them to be guilty.
Разумеется, понимаешь, что теперь я не смогу обвинить их виновными. Ну да. Заставила его полюбить людей, типа того. Полюбить, принять. Ну, такой, мой дорогой муравейник, не буду же я муравьев топить.
The curtain call has come. I know I may not sound it, but faced with death, I find myself a little afraid. Perhaps this is one thing both gods and humans have in common. Farewell, Nervilette. I hope you've enjoyed the part you played these 500 years.
Спасибо тебе за все, Фарина. Оплати в жизнь моей мечты. Будь человеком. Живи счастливо. Тебя девчонку освободили.
I, Iudex Nouvelet, hereby declare, people of Fontaine, your sins are forgiven.
Как всегда, очень грустная и печальная история.
What just happened? Has the death sentence been carried out?
Was that bright light some sort of misdirection? I have a feeling that something huge just happened.
But since we're all still alive and haven't been dissolved, I assume whatever happened was good for us.
It's time to end this. We must mete out punishment to that beast.
Didn't you say just a moment ago that it can't be defeated?
I have gained the strength sufficient to deal with it. Through certain means, I now have the ability to separate the power of the primordials. We should seize the opportunity to pursue our quarry.
Ты обрел силу?
Traveler, now that the oratories can no longer function, I require an executor to help me mete out justice.
Ты имеешь в виду меня?
The root of the calamities befalling Fontaine. The beast that enacts the prophecy. Its name is the all-devouring narwhal.
Всепожирающий нарвал. Это как зубастики, которые стирают миры.
Come with me, traveler. The hour of execution has come.
А ведь он такой красивый. Ну что ж, битва. Вроде сюжетные битвы должны быть легкими. У меня просто команда неудачная стоит для того, чтобы с ним воевать.
I've already done my best to separate the power from my away. Considering the size of the beast, I cannot reach the power source. Unless we can find a way to attack it from within. I shall share a part of the ancient dragon's power with you. We shall look for an opening together. Hostility. Continue to trigger its hostility. Chance will present itself. You my protection. Do not fear. Seize the moment and use my power to suppress its root from within.
No touching.
Gather.
Sorry, pal.
Чайлда из его живота еще можем вытащить, наверное. Где он? О, она его забрала.
Thanks for helping with the cleanup. It should have been my job, but oh well. It was just supposed to be a short private training session for me. I didn't think that my disciple and my master's pet would start brawling in the meantime.
Питомец моего наставника. Серьезно, это питомец ее наставника?
Well, actually, I had a feeling that it would happen at some point, but they bumped into one another earlier than I thought. What a blunder. I suppose I'll have to swim
Она хороша, да, я ее хочу.
times as penance.
Питомец наставника?
That power. Who are you exactly?
Paimon has an idea. From what she said earlier, she must be Child's master. Skirk, right? It's just that he gave us the impression that she was the less talkative person.
I simply did not have anything to say to the weak. But you, on the other hand, managed to defeat the all-devouring narwhal without using power from beyond this world. So you may speak to me as equals.
Тоже на такой способен держать нарвала в роли домашней зверюшки.
I have to agree. It's a strange use of a planet's primordial waters just to raise an all-devouring narwhal. That kind of power is wasted on it. It's not cooperative. It eats too much. And I have more important things to do with my time than pet sitting. The only thing that creature has going for it is its looks. All in all, it fails as a pet.
Miss Skirk? I think you might have missed the point.
The point being?
Well, being that this pet almost destroyed an entire nation. So what sort of person is your master? Well, Child's master's master.
Oh, right. So you don't know him. Sorry, I assumed you did.
Не полагала, вы знакомы. А что, если мы знакомы? Я не знаю, кто это.
His name is Sirtologi.
Сюртологи? Кто? Нет.
I am unfamiliar with that name.
Huh. So Master is insufficiently famous. How should I describe him then? Have you heard of the name The Fowl?
The Fowl?
Still nothing? Well, how about the Visionary? Vetterfalnir then? Or Gold Rhindaughter?
Ooh, that one we've heard. Rhindaughter's part of the Hexen Circle. She's Albedo's mom, right?
Мама Альбеда.
Oh, so you do know that name. To be honest, I also heard all of those names and titles from my master. But I suppose you understand now, yes? My master is likely a similar sort to Rhindaughter. They are both pursuing some form of perfection.
Wait, didn't you also mention a visionary person?
Actually, never mind that. I believe it expedient to inform you that the all-devouring narwhal used up nearly all its strength fighting you. Such roiling hydro energies will prove difficult for the planet's deep seas to digest. As such, the fontaine back on the surface has most likely been thrown into chaos.
А, ну спасибо, что сообщила.
In other words, the prophecy that you've been fretting over should now be in full swing.
Мы тут стоим болтаем мило, нежно, да, а там всех топит. Отлично. Шикарные новости. Тут нечему удивляться, Паймон. В конце концов, это естественное пророчество должно было исполниться, мы знали об этом и приняли этот факт. И все же...
Not to worry. Focalor has already managed to deceive the heavenly principles.
Проклятие не сработает, их не растворит. Но все равно все затопит.
In the end, the people will all be dissolved into the waters, and only Farina will remain, weeping on her throne. Only then will the sins of the people of Fontaine be washed away.
расплывали. Давно они хоть лодки подготовили. В какой-то мере да, но все-таки, ё-моё.
All hands, initiate emergency rescue! Hurry! Hey, lend a hand!
Ладно, людей повытаскивали. Ведь реально кто-то мог быть закрыт, кого-то могло завалить.
Look! The water's receding!
It's a miracle! We didn't dissolve. The prophecy was wrong. The prophecy was wrong.
Are you alright?
We're safe. The prophecy was wrong.
Ну, все неплохо, только все разрушено. Ух.
The soil renewed. The Sphina talks post-disaster rebuilding. I recently visited Poisson to meet with Miss Navia, spokesperson of the Sphina and old soil can still give birth to new bloom, Miss Navia stated. Hope is like seeing a small cookie when you're starving late at night. You just need a little of it. Skyship Winglet, lunar brain of the Fontaine Research Institute. The various disputes that have arisen on account of Mr. Edwin have suddenly become a shield over the Institute, which people always call the first researcher mad, but few know what to call the second. And should that latter person achieve a miracle, they would find it all the harder to find a word with which to classify him and his team. Wow! Paimon barely recognizes the people in the reports. Are those really Jurier and Navia? They sound like real big shots.
Они, возможно, и были большими шишками с самого начала. Мы просто не знакомы с ними в этой роли.
What do you think? Pretty enthralling, huh? The Steambird's idea was pretty simple. With the disaster just having passed, we would print a free edition packed to the margins with good news to calm people down. The value for these big scoops lies in their inevitable follow-ups. We'll publish further reports and go into the stories behind those people. Edwin's assistant, Jurier, created a true flying ship, while Navia is leading people in the reconstruction of their home. I'm sure that these stories could draw even your well-traveled eye.
После этих статей мне правда хочется узнать, что будет дальше.
Paimon's curious too! Wait a minute. Didn't we watch everything happen from start to finish? What's there to be curious about?
And that's exactly why I'd like you to come conduct interviews with me. You're the best incubators of news, if you haven't noticed. And also, with you around, I'm sure I'll get to see that Duke.
Are you sure? Hasn't he turned you down several times already?
Oh, this time will be different. Come on, Let's head to Poisson first, and then make a trip to the fortress. There are some things you'll only know when you get there.
Эпилог. Отправляйтесь в Пуассон. Давайте это пройдем. Эпилог же не затянется еще на час, я надеюсь. Я не ожидала, что сегодня-то 3 часа буду проходить. Если бы я знала, я бы разделила видео. Ну и давайте еще помолимся. У нас молитва набралась за это время. Даже не знаю, я молюсь то на это, то на это. С2 леса круто, сявы у меня нет до сих пор, но... Ладно. Все равно пустая, да? Возможно, будем новую девочку вытаскивать. А тут сколько откручено? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Это была 36-я молитва, похоже. Так что, скорее всего, и остается сколько? 5 дней. Скорее всего, никого из них я не получу, поэтому теория меня ждет. Но если получу, то получу. Я только порадуюсь.
Next on the agenda. Navia!
Oh, it's you. What brings you all here?
Hey, we're just having a look around.
I'm here to update myself on how things are going here. Oh, the Fatui are here too.
Let me introduce you. This is Mr. Garunt Snezhevich.
Герунт Снежевич.
In sending us a large amount of supplies and is helping with our work.
Меня умиляют имена жителей Снежной.
Our residents are hard at work as well. Thanks to everyone, work is progressing nicely.
Hello, Miss Charlotte. I'm a big fan of yours. I especially like that article you wrote last year about Fontaine's stray cats. But if you don't mind, could you not emphasize our role too much in your report? It's not charity we're doing here. We just happen to share the same interests as the Spina.
I get where you're coming from. I'll keep it as simple as possible. Or would you be willing to feature as friendly neighbors?
That would be fine. Thanks.
Oh, you're back too. How are things?
We finished laying down the construction materials. It'll be another hour before the workers are able to go over there.
Huh? You're here too, Clarand?
Well, her reputation's greatly risen after that whole duel business with Miss Farina. So she's here in Poisson to wait out the heat. All right. She really came here to help me out.
There's too much to consider in the reconstruction of Poisson. The Spina has need of more decision-makers. And, well, I do already happen to be connected to Mr. Callis.
Oh, wait just a moment. Do you mind me asking a few questions? You know, about how you felt before the duel, about what it was like facing down a god. There's lots of exciting material there, I bet.
Forget it. I'm sure you can find a better theme than that, Miss Charlotte.
I see you're the same as always. Couldn't you do me a favor, for Navia's sake?
Well, if we're talking about doing things for my sake, you might as well just take a few more photos of me. Or of the Traveler. It's better than wasting time persuading Chlorand at any rate.
Of course I will. I'm not gonna let him off that easy. All right, then everyone who wants to be in the photo, gather up. And smile.
How did it go? Was it a good shot? Did Paimon look cute in it?
Not bad. Your addition really helped the composition of the picture. All right, hang on a moment. Let me snap a few more shots. All right, that should do it. I'll be back here later anyway, so let's call it a day.
You're very quick.
Speed is of the essence when it comes to the news, and freshness is the key. Also, not to brag, but I'm pretty good at building connections. Who knows? I might eventually get that interview with you after all, Miss Chlorand.
Wow, you really do have that never say die spirit.
I'll hazard a guess that this is how you got that interview at the Fortress of Maripede.
Whoa, You're well informed. Let me make a guess too. I asked Sijuin, who told Monsieur Nervillet, and he told you, right?
That's a very complete information chain.
In truth, all Monsieur Neuvillette asked me was, when did the fortress become so friendly towards... I told him that it was best not to speak too soon. There's no guarantee that Ridesley will make a personal appearance.
You're right. I've got to treasure every moment I have with them. In which case, I'll be making a move first.
Stay safe now. And tell me if you hear anything interesting. I'll treat you to afternoon tea in exchange.
Отправляйтесь в крепость. Сейчас, секунду, поговорить надо с ребятами.
You seem curious about the fortress.
Of course. That Risley. I still remember going down to the fortress to grill him for information on my father's case. Boy, did he take me for a ride. Without telling me anything, of course.
But he did invite you to tea, didn't he?
2 large pots of it, in fact. It was good tea, though.
I have to agree. The tea there is very...
Speaking of that, would you like to have some today?
Well, I'd be partial...
Wow, it's like we've got a menu or something. What flavor of biscuits would you like, Mr. Snezhevich?
Me? I'm fine with anything. But I would prefer chocolate, should...
All right.
I'll go over the newly arrived supplies with you later, Mr. Snezhevich.
That works great for me.
Huh. Is it just...
I did. It was a gift from Sijuin. Want to give it a try? I think the color would suit you, too.
Угу. Ладно, это было любопытно. Куда телепортнулась? Сейчас попробую сюда, наверное, правильнее.
Looks like you've been missing us.
Duke! Did you come all the way to the entrance to greet us?
Of course. I'm here to welcome you and our dear Miss Charlotte, whom our good head nurse recommended to me.
It's an honor to finally meet the much-rumored Duke. Thank you for consenting to my visit to the fortress, sir.
No need to thank me. But that said, I shouldn't be the focus of your interview. I trust you recall our agreement?
Of course, of course.
All right then, this way.
Hey, no need to be so nervous. Miss Charlotte.
It would seem that Miss Lorvine doesn't want her face to appear beside that of...
Sir, please don't say things...
But it looks like dear Mr. Jurier denies it. Might this interview be very important to you then?
No, I just... This is my first time being interviewed, and I'm very thankful to the Steambird for...
Now, I might not look it, but I actually did meet Mr. Edwin once. And I'll be honest, I enjoyed chatting with you more. You've definitely got more of that genius vibe going on. The boat that brought about a miracle, the ark that saved the people. Why, you recreated a myth back there. Like, still, if I might ask, where's that flying ship now?
Huh! Looks like Charlotte's trying to get herself in...
I have to apologize, but that ship is presently in the bowels of our factory.
Really? Well, then in that case, could I have an interview with you to
You already know my answer, I'm afraid. Best you interview our head nurse instead. Or perhaps you'd like to take another photo of the...
Did you really have to use the word couple? Well, then, 2 solo photos...
Is my hair messed up? Please, someone help me have a look.
Things sure are getting pretty lively here. We've seen this kind of thing before. Oh, seems like everyone's here. Would any of you like to try this new...
Ah, Sijuin.
Hey, Miss Charlotte. Why don't you, take some pretty photos of our head nurse? Sure. Come on, Miss Sijuane. Over this way. Let's
Sure. Do I have to smile? So, how have things been at the fortress?
Same old, as you can see. Fontaine's undergone some changes, but this place is still more or less the same.
Other than that flying ship, it got a tad too much attention, I think.
That's why I decided to let the interview go through. We should direct more public opinions toward the behind-the-scenes heroes. Am I right, Mr. Jurrier? Miss Lurvine?
You're too kind, sir. I believe that you too should have your day in the sun. Not that you would want that, just...
I'll just leave the spotlight to you two. I see. Lots of things happened that day, huh? Anyway, regarding that Harbinger, I'm not sure you remember, but his 3 young followers are still waiting for his return.
Его ждут. Та троица, помните, с которой он подружился в тюрьме?
He sure did win them over, huh?
I'll tell them that there's good news and bad news. The good being that their boss seems fine, and the bad being that they must face extended sentences
Пособничество
for
по
abetting his
бегу.
escape.
Ну-ну.
Oh, actually, what about you? Are things gonna change for you
Бедные
too?
ребята. Помогли, блин, на свою голову.
What change can there be? The fortress will keep chugging along, and so will my duties. As to what Miss Farina's departure will mean for the nation, and if our laws and governance will be transformed, we'll leave those to the folks in the overworld.
Hey, everyone. The photo shoot's done.
Good. In that case, let's call it a day here.
Thanks for your cooperation. Come on, Traveler, let's go.
There'll be a next time?
Maybe. Who knows? I might write a story about the underwater factory next time. Until then. All right. Last stop, the docks.
Порт. Неужели последний пункт? Я уже не верю. Вряд ли.
We're way behind schedule.
Я могла бы, наверное, так спрыгнуть вниз. Да, по красоте, по подъемнику, как раньше, как в первый раз. Чё так долго движется?
Next on the agenda.
Да неужели? Я уже подумала, что-то сломалось. Или ломалось от того, что я отходила? Нет, тут реально высоко. Значит, он все это время ехал. Время полюбоваться героями.
Navia mentioned that she stayed in touch with Linny and the others after working together. Apparently, they've been at the docks distributing these strange pockets the whole time since.
Traveler, Paimon. Ah, and Miss Charlotte, too.
Would you like a magic pocket?
What sort of gadget is it?
It's a wondrous bag that can be used to carry many things. The water level has returned to normal, but if you see any of your things floating around, you can use this to carry them. Or you could trick a friend into doing it for you.
Trick a friend? I wonder which of my friends would fall for that.
You could just make a friend like Fremine here. Isn't that right, Fremine?
Is this what you meant by I'll help you.
To be honest, that sounds pretty sweet. Could I have your contact, please?
Sure. Please, write down my address.
Lynette sure is working hard to help Fremine socialize.
He was the one who proposed doing this. He even wants to assist in our magic shows.
Ему подойдет. Ну да.
Yes, I was planning to first introduce Pear as an assistant, and later Fremine himself. In the future, I think we can leave underwater escape magic to him too.
That said, would anyone want to see a diver escape underwater?
Интересно смотреть, как водолаз спасается из-под воды. Ну да. А почему нет, если его без оборудования отправлять?
Every journey begins with the first step. He'll become a part of our show eventually.
Lynette, could you come over? Miss Charlotte says she wants to take a picture of us.
Got it.
My, that Charlotte is rather perceptive. She got rid of everyone the moment she realized I had something to say to you. Father says that you did a great deal during the latest events. She's very grateful for your contributions to Fontaine.
That's all right. We were more than happy to help. So, what's she doing now?
Oh, I guess you haven't heard. After Lady Farina left, Father and Monsieur Nervillet opened negotiations, during which he gave Fontaine's
Он дал ей
gnosis to her
сердце
as
Бога.
a diplomatic gift.
Они все собираются в снежные сердца.
A diplomatic gift? A gnosis?
Yes, I was quite surprised at first myself. But when I thought it over, there were actually a number of things going for it. It could have been done as an apology for the incident with Lord Child, or as thanks for his help in tying the all-devouring narwhal down. Furthermore, Father did also lend significant aid to Fontaine and Poisson.
That's true, but this is a gnosis we're talking about. Doesn't this seem a bit irresponsible?
I would agree, but I've also heard that it seems that Monsieur Nervillet has had a significant change of heart regarding the matter.
So there's some reason for this that only Nervillet knows about?
I suspect you'll have to ask him about that yourself. Ah, yes, speaking of which, I did see him strolling around the entrance to the Fortress of Meripede a while back.
Isn't he real busy and stuff? Paimon didn't think he'd have the time for that. But back to the topic. The gnosis was given to the knave, right?
They say that he's returned to Snezhnaya to recover from his wounds. I hear that the recent disaster really did a number on his health.
Ну, думаю, теперь я смогу считать его боевым товарищем.
That's true. When you think about it, we've had loads of run-ins with the Fatui. To think...
So shocked by such a simple switching of sides?
Father!
Well, what do you know? Come to the docks to see how my children are doing and meet the traveler by chance. Please do not pay my accomplishments in Fontaine too much mind.
Я думала, она будет в роли зла выступать. Она тут ходит, всем помогает. Весь сезон, получается, Фонтейн. Меня это напрягает прям максимально.
That is our duty as harbingers, yes. Don't be too preoccupied
Но
with
она тоже очень нравится. Красиво смотрится. Мне нравятся ее украшения. Черно-красные. На фоне белого костюма. С мини-масок кое-что звучит капец как многосмысленно. В общем, я не доверяю. Ты не изменишь позицию? Мне это и нравится.
Well, that depends on many things. No one truly knows what the future holds. What good is honesty if you can't rely on it forever? As for you, I very much look forward to our next collaboration. Good things cannot be achieved alone, and you've proved yourselves to be great partners.
Да, кстати, передай это Чайлду, пожалуйста. Точно наживо глаз Бога хранился.
A vision? All right. I'll remember to return it. Thank you for keeping it safe for him this entire time.
Что взяли, отдали ей глаз Бога. Тоже как-то стремновато, да? Ну ладно, это я просто к ней предвзято отношусь очень.
And that's a wrap for me. Huh? You're...
Greetings, Miss Journalist.
Hello. If I'm not mistaken, there are diplomatic channels I'll need to report to take a photo of you.
That is correct. So forgive me, but I will not be able to serve as a subject in your article. However, feel free to write as much as you'd like about our dear magicians and our upcoming rookie talent.
I will.
The sea breeze is quite pleasant. I shall continue my walk while the weather remains so agreeable. Farewell.
Farewell, Father.
Oh, she has such an intimidating presence. I didn't even dare to take a picture. Thankfully, I've already wrapped up all my pre-scheduled interviews. Thank you all. This'll be...
Don't be too nervous. Why don't you take a magic pocket before you go? Here, Traveler, Paimon, you take one too.
To move things about?
That's right. Funny. I was giving out magic pockets when we first met too. And what do you know? I'm doing the exact same thing right now. So many things have happened, but the pockets are still the pockets. I guess this must be life. We will all follow our own paths, and serendipity will lead you to your fated friends. All right then. We'll be handing out pockets in some other districts later, so we'll get going now. Have a good day, you two.
Well, guess we sent Charlotte off. Shall we go see what Neverlette's doing? Of course he's not so busy that he doesn't have time to chat anyway.
Идем к Нёву. Может, там будет Фурина, и мы, наконец, завершим. Я просто реально... Я бы знала, что так долго будет, я бы разделила, конечно, потому что я устаю так много сидеть и просто читать. Я начинаю дико хотеть спать. Я там в середине чуть не уснула, но обошлось. Местам было очень душевно и интересно, то есть мне все нравится. Но тяжко так долго высиживать сюжет за раз. Я предпочитаю разделять нынче, прям по максималочке. И все, 31 уровень фонтана.
We're way behind schedule. Next on the agenda.
The entrance to the fortress! Ooh, he really is there!
Schedule.
So, you really are here, Neverlette! Paimon didn't think you were going to have free time this hour of the day.
Really? Oh, I suppose you must have met Mr. Linney. He took the time to greet me earlier when he passed this way. In any case, you came at a good time. I was just considering reaching out to you to set up a meeting, so I may explain some things that I haven't had the time to before.
Aw, Paimon's glad that you remembered. Thank you for keeping us on your mind, what with you. Alright, let's have it then. How was Fontaine actually saved? The whole business is still quite the mystery to us.
It is strange how words can often leave a bitter taste in the mouth when it finally comes time to say them out loud.
Whoa. So that's what happened?
Я сам видел только роль Фурины.
Fusillor destroyed the divine throne of the Hydro Archon and restored your power to you, transforming you into a fully fledged elemental dragon sovereign. But Paimon still doesn't quite get what you did to save the Fontanians from dissolving.
For me, the authority of the ancient dragons refers to absolute control over the hydro element. Fontanians were incomplete humans born of Egeria's use of the power of the primordial sea, with constitutions similar to that of mimics. But so long as those primordial energies remain within them, I could use the ancient dragon's authority to grant them true blood, after the fashion in which life was first brought into being on this planet. In other words, when I gave my verdict, Fontanians became true humans, and thus would naturally no longer be dissolved by water from the primordial sea.
Fossilor must have counted on you to make that decision as well. Your verdict was the key to making the prophecy appear to have come true while saving everyone.
Можно сказать, что именно в тот момент фонтейцы родились по-настоящему.
Yeah, and in a manner of speaking, Fossilor finally managed to fulfill the original Hydro Archon's wish to turn Oceanids into real people too.
It seems from your expressions that you still have more things you wish to ask. Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it.
Тот приговор, вынесенный
I
Чайлду.
have investigated his case along many avenues, and I have learned that he once fell into an unknown chasm when he was young.
Он пробудил
There, by
Нарвала.
chance, he awakened. But whether it be by sentiment or reason, that should not have been enough to consider him the root cause of the disaster. As for the judgment passed by the oratrice during the trial,
Ну, я думаю, что он не специально, он просто туда свалился.
whether it was due to that liability by association or Fossilor deliberately using him to buy time for us on the assumption that he would be able to hold the creature off, I cannot say.
Guess Fossilor had Fontanians in mind the whole time. In the end, it was thanks to her that they finally became real humans. Hang on a second. Paimon suddenly got in. Back when Fontanians hadn't yet become real humans, were the children they had also transformed Oceanids?
Life has always flowed like water. Do you recall how Fontanians would often come to the Fountain of Lucine to pray for children?
Yeah, Lynette said the fountain is where all the waters in Fontaine converge.
In truth, even those couples did not know that such prayers were no mere custom,
Форма
instead a form
ритуала.
of ritual. Those Oceanids who were blessed within the spring water would later descend as new humans in the coming months.
Paimon sorta gets it now. Either way, seems like this ritual won't be of any further use, but it'll probably live on as a local custom.
То есть людьми они реально стали только сейчас, получается.
Ask away. I will tell you the truth
Это у
as I
них и
know it.
дети просто океанидами были. Ну, обалдеть, это хотя бы много объясняет. А то этим вопросом именно я задавалась. Что ждет Фонтейн в будущем?
Yeah, about that. Risley said Farina has already left.
Ah, Lady Farina. The people are only aware that her death sentence has not been carried out. She abdicated the post of Hydro Archon and left affairs related to that title to me, before leaving the Opera House. I related Fossilor's words to her faithfully and completely. After, she simply said that she was tired. Having said that, she then packed her things and moved out of the Opera House. Not an...
But she's still gotta put.
You need not worry. I will make arrangements to ensure that she will not want for food, clothing, board, or travel. In truth, I am somewhat happy for her. The wear and tear on her spirit will, of course, take time to heal. But now that she no longer has to play the role of Fossilor the Hydro Archon, she can finally lay down her burdens and lead a normal life.
What about you then? What are your plans now that you've regained your full powers as the Hydro Dragon?
After Fossilor passed on, the Oratrice also ceased to function. This matter will directly affect our trials. After much careful consideration, I've decided to take over its role in our courts. From now on, I shall hear cases and pass verdicts by myself.
Looks like you're still considering stuff from the perspective of the Udex, huh?
As an elemental dragon, there are indeed many things that I must do. But this power, and this, as such, before I attend to my other responsibilities, I must first and foremost continue to serve Fontaine as its highest judge. The duty of the Hydro Sovereign and the duty of the Udex shall coexist within my person. Additionally, the Hydro Archon's departure has brought about another problem, which is that the Opera House shall no longer produce indemnitium.
That's true. That power was derived from the people's faith in the Hydro Archon, wasn't it? Wait, but the various mechs and machines in the city are all still okay. Where are they getting their energy from?
As I am now, I have full command over New Musia, and it can serve as a complete substitute. Another reason why I cannot quite leave Fontaine immediately.
Wow. This ancient dragon's authority stuff is really quite useful, huh?
Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it.
Сердце бога Фонтейна.
Oh, that's right! They say you've given it to the knave as a diplomatic gift or something!
Leaving aside their intentionality, the two Fatui Harbingers have indeed done much for us during this crisis. Their sole remaining goal in Fontaine, at least at this point, with the Oratrice, has ceased to function. The Hydro Archon's divine throne is now no more, and I do not need the
Мне
Gnosis'
сила
power.
сердца Бога не нужна, но они же могут бед наделать. Просто тут раскидываться всякими артефактами и мощными штуками, ну разве так можно? Я понимаю, что она ему не нужна, но, блин, я даже не знаю.
As such, it has lost all meaning for Fontaine.
Значит, она утратила свое значение для Фонтейна. Откуда ты знаешь, что они там сотворят? Они, может, весь мир вокруг сотрут, сделав там что-то, не знаю, что они там делают.
If the Fatui have impure designs, then we might as well accede to their request now and avoid unnecessary conflict.
Короче, он решил сейчас избежать конфликта, чтобы что будет потом, ему без разницы. Ладно. Ладно.
What complicated considerations? Paimon thought you were just giving it to them out of gratitude to the knave and as an apology to Child.
Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know it.
А насчет следующего моего пункта назначения.
You will soon be heading to Natlan, I presume.
В Натлан едем. Ура! Новая страна будет.
I'm afraid that I have little talent as a travel guide. As far as I'm aware, Natlan can be said
Страна
to be a
драконов.
nation of...
A nation of dragons?
No, I suspect that I would not find myself welcome there. Unlike ancient dragons such as myself, the dragons of Natlan have undergone long years of development and evolution. Large numbers of them have entered a form of coexistence with humanity.
Сосуществуют с человеком, совсем не такие, как Нёв.
Natlan is also the nation of war.
Страна
War
войны.
ravages those lands like an undying flame. There is one other piece of information I got incidentally from my negotiations with the knave that I believe may be useful to you. The harbinger known as the Captain has thrown his hat into the endless ring of war.
The captain. Sounds like a real tough customer. Seriously, everywhere you look, there's a Fatui Harbinger doing their thing.
I suggest that you fully prepare yourself before going to Natlan. In the meantime, Fontaine's doors will always be open to you. Ask away. I will tell you the truth as I know.
Ну вот и все, мы все вопросы задали. У меня больше нет вопросов.
Hang on a sec. Paimon still got a question about the Gnosis. When we spoke to Linny earlier, he mentioned that your attitude towards giving away the Gnosis had... We guessed that there might be some reason for it that only you were aware.
No wonder the House of the Hearth is the Fatui's intelligence division. They are certainly sharp. So regarding this specific issue, I was just...
What is it?
In truth, I exchanged some further words with that lady named Skirk after sending you two back to the surface. It went something like this.
Well, we're going to head topside to see what's going on. You hurry over soon as well.
Выкинул нас как детей, а сами о серьезных вещах будут разговаривать. Ну как так?
What next?
The all-devouring narwhal isn't here, so I'm no longer getting any interference. I can finally catch the scent of your power, what it's made of. It is the authority of the planet's primordial dragons, but with something very similar to a god's curse mixed in. It's quite a novel blend. I'm sure I've encountered something like this before. What was it again?
I do not know what you speak of.
Of course. How could I forget? You should have the remains of the third descender on your person, yes?
Remains? I've never heard of any such thing.
According to your parlance, I believe it may be called a gnosis.
Сердце Бога — это просто останки сошедшего. Сошедший — это не такой же, как наш ГГ, случайно.
Well, that much is true. After Focalor's divinity faded, she handed her gnosis to me. But I fear I have never heard of it described in the manner that you just did.
I've been training with my master, the Fowl, ever since I was young, and I have never returned to the surface since. It is only natural for those who are greater than humanity to possess a different sort of common sense. Regardless, You should probably get rid of objects of misfortune to prevent any disasters from befalling you. To live in itself is a blessing. But once a person dies, the bonds he once had with this world shall all turn to curses.
What do you mean by that?
No need to fret. These are just my personal thoughts.
This third descender you refer to, who are they? And when did they die?
Master never mentioned them to me. Perhaps it just wasn't that important. If you're interested, though, I could ask him. I'll be sure to pass the answer on to you next time.
Next time? You believe we will meet again?
I do. Wait. I have a disciple of my own, don't I? He can...
Да, плюс инфа. Неплохо.
That's what she told me. Whether it would prove useful or not.
The remains of the third descender?
А что, если у нас с Люмин третий брат-близнец есть? И это его останки, и мы во времени просто перемещаемся туда-сюда. Ах, представляете?
So that's what the Gnosis actually are. Paimon just thought they looked like chess pieces. How could they be a person's remains?
All the same, assuming that there was no misunderstanding or special metaphor at play.
And she said that it would bring misfortune and that you should check it, which is why you gave it to the Fatui.
If she speaks the truth, then I would simply be putting Fontaine at unnecessary risk by keeping it here.
Она упомянула сошедших. Я четвертый сошедший. Для меня это означает две вещи. Подожди, он четвертый? Я вообще не помню этого. Да, серьезно? А Люмин какая третья? Стоп, нет. Люмин... подожди, а Люмин какая? Он четвертый. Подожди, или они с Люмин четвертые? То есть третья это вот чьи останки сказали? Четвертый для меня это означает две вещи. Во-первых, сердце Бога связано с сошедшими. Слушайте, а если Люмин третья есть? Ну нет, наверное, третий кто-то другой все-таки. Во-вторых, тот, кто пришел сюда до меня, мертв.
I guess that you might already be familiar with this concept, but I did not expect you to be one of them. That means that the Gnosis, which are exceedingly element-compatible and can even enhance elemental abilities, do indeed come from the third descender. I wonder, does your body also possess similar
Да вот я тоже думаю, меня сейчас на кусочки порвут, на элементы разложат и новых богов создадут. Я себя перестала чувствовать в безопасности.
Like being able to use elemental powers without a vision. That does sort of count as special compatibility, right? No, let's not think about this stuff right now. It just feels creepy. Comparing the Traveler to the dead third descender and all.
Не переживай, так я так просто не умру. Но если на меня все страны накинутся, то как бы что ты с этим сделаешь? Да, такие темы не к добру. Надо, чтобы про это никто не знал. А, мы расскажем Чайлду, да? Ладно. Ой, ладно.
I too believe it unwise to make too many blind guesses when information is lacking.
All right. Whatever the case, it seems like the crisis here in Fontaine's over for now.
Yes. All of Focalor's efforts were for this moment as well.
But she sacrificed herself in the end as a god, and she suffered through all those years as a human. Was that really what she wanted?
I suppose that would be the mystery of a god's will. I suspect not. But once in a while, I too would guess that if wishes were like the clouds in the sky, they will one day return to the earth as raindrops. Life flows like water, and rain is the final answer. The water levels may sometimes tilt one way or another, but the rain falls fairly upon all. And what ultimately is the difference between the rains that fall upon all of us.
Маскарад виновных сделано, да неужели? Почти 4 часа, и это после того, как я первый раз еще проходила сколько-то времени. 10 камешков не хватает, но я не буду с ними париться. Ну, вопросы, естественно, не поменялись. Почему все задали? Все. Сейчас посмотрю, что там у меня со смолой. Смолы накопилось 47. За это время я ее упустить не могу, так как мне нужно сходить в Лиюэ. У нас сейчас это идет, как оно называется там. Разлив мастерства, вот. Поэтому мы сходим. А подожди, а почему в Лиюэ? В Лиюэ я ходила вчера. А сегодня мне куда надо? Так что у меня не докачано? Тут докачано, тут... Ну, докачаю, у меня все есть. Тут вот так, вот так, вот так. Сейчас посмотрим, кого я хочу прокачать. О, Скара не докачанный. Закрыто. Ладно, кто еще? Джин. Нет, корону давать не буду, пожалуй. Сюда можно вкинуть золото, закрыто. Сюда можно вкинуть... О, сюда и вкинем. Поехали.
Next on the agenda.
I will have order.
All hail. No touching. Yeah, scatter. Next on the agenda.
Так, раз и два.
Gather.
Yeah, skyward. Seize the skies. Many happy returns.
Да, я был прав. Прекрасный персонаж прыгает в ульте. Я просто не считала, что он может. Поэтому... Не знала. Нормально. Ой, ну все, я пойду досыпать. Потом на работу. Это все. Мне очень понравился сюжет, было очень интересно. Единственное, что, блин, я бы разделяла, конечно, это по возможности. Было бы записано примерное время, за сколько проходится, было бы легче. Но я понимаю, что они сейчас безумно длинные. То есть, по сути, 4 часа мы проходили, и это первый раз я еще примерно час или даже больше записывал тоже. Все, ну почти 5 часов шло, по сути. Ладно, все. На этом точно все. Всем спасибо за внимание, спасибо за просмотр. Ставьте лайки, подписывайтесь. Это был канал LSJ. Пока-пока.